Everybody get your burps out now. No burps
Bup, bup, bup,
midstream.
bup, bup.
Can I get
Pardon me?
Oh wow,
Everybody
burp
get your
on
burps out now.
command.
That was
No
good,
burps
people. I am
midstream.
proud of
Yeah.
us. We all burped on
Pardon
cue.
me?
Joke's
Oh,
on
wow.
you. The
Burp
stream
on-
was there the
burp on
whole
command.
time.
Oh!
You, I
Yeah,
can
fine
burp
with
on
it.
command.
I never claimed to be a lady, so I'll cope.
Yeah, cool. We're up.
Does that mean we're up?
I'm gonna drop Twitch because I have no interest in watching the stream whilst being the stream. There is no recap, I guess.
There is no recap.
Mm.
I
I suppose it's
will
worth
pass-
saying. Do you want me to do some sort of intro, or are you gonna cover it?
Well, I don't know what you're going to intro. So
I was
go.
just gonna say, for those of you that are either watching this on Twitch right now, which is no one because I've looked at the chat and there's nobody in there, or watching this on YouTube in future life. Hi, the kids I have in 20 years' time when I'm barely able to have kids anymore.
We're having kids.
This is shut up. This is this is a one shot that we're doing in between the main campaign. So join us for 3-ish sessions. Sevvi will be one-shotting this, or will be DMing this one shot. I am no longer the DM, and as such, I pass off my
Fired.
DME powers to you. Yeah. So this is a one shot. We're all playing different
Get
shit.
out of here.
Let's go.
It's set in the same world, but it's 15 years before the current campaign of Arc 1 and 2. I think that's worth saying.
Okay.
Do you want to do a brief description of what Viorum is in your words, Josh?
Sure.
Because
So,
this one shot is focused around a group of adventurers, or whatever you want to call them, that are within the Viorum group.
yeah,
Company?
they're kind of a guild, but they don't. They
Guild,
recognize
probably
themselves as Viorum. They don't put a end word on it. So for the people who aren't Darren and Sal, Viorum is a group within Bela'Dun that rose to enough power to purchase land and essentially have a headquarters off of the main body of land that is Bela'Dun itself. They are. Sevvi, am I explaining the details of the people who are running Viorum, or like high up in its ranks?
No, you can just say that. Say who heads it up, and just essentially what they do and what they are about.
Okay, so essentially the whole thing was put together by an elf who is quite old called Dasamar, and he had a vision of creating a guild essentially, whose entire purpose was to do good throughout the world without the restrictions of law. So they are essentially a mercenary group looking to do good, and the way they go about doing that is by entirely disregarding the laws surrounding teleportation throughout Bela'Dun, i.e. that it is incredibly prohibited and just generally banned throughout the entire world. People, your average person who has enough coin is familiar with Viorum and the service they provide, in that if you send them a letter through whatever means, you know, it doesn't have to be a physical letter, you could message one of them if you knew the magics to do that, they will accept your task if the pay is right, and they will come and do it for you. They strive to be good and a general good force throughout the world, so if your job was to kill my neighbor because he keeps leaving crap in front of his door, they're not going to take that kind of job on. They would probably just ignore you. They're not the kind of person that, or the kind of people that would then seek retribution against you for seeking a otherwise ungoodly task, but they simply wouldn't accept a task like that. They tend to recruit by finding they have general feelers throughout Bela'Dun, looking for people that have done something big enough or good enough that gets their attention, and then they would approach those people and simply explain to them that they can offer them the chance at travel, the chance at potential fortune, the chance at potential fortune in terms of items rather than simply gold, and that they would be joining a kind of family, if you like, with the sole intention of leaving the world a better place than when they arrived at it. They have a ranking system that we won't go into because there's all sorts of people in the ranking system, and this group is a lower rank of Viorum.
That is correct. Do you guys want to start with your characters, and then I'll start the story just so it flows better. You guys have been part of a pre-existing group, so you all know each other. You've been together for many months. I wouldn't say years, but you've been together at least 6 months plus, or the 6 months to 12 months time frame. You know each other. You've gone out on a few different things. You've seen each other around the place. Like you're close enough that you would call each other friends as well as work colleagues or whatever. So if you want to first go through who your character is, their race, what they're like, give us some idea, and what their 5 minutes of fame was to get into Viorum, like what was the thing that they did to get noticed, and any other connections you might have with the other group. And then once everyone's done that, we'll just quickly go over the 3 things that you will know about each other, your funny quirks. So youngest first.
Me?
Yes.
Sure,
Also, we
and then
could,
go to oldest. So we'll end with Max, I believe.
just like do this in your character as well.
Oh yeah.
So talk
This
about your character and your 5 minutes of fame, and then move on.
this boy me. My name is Taron Parvus. I'm a sweet boy from a small village out of nowhere. Got a nice family. They're really nice parents and everything. Nothing really remarkable about my upbringing, except I got scales on my body. That shit's weird and crazy. Yeah, basically, as I was maturing, the scales began to appear up across my skin like a faint sheen, and the villagers started getting quite, half of them thinking that it's some sort of curse and it needs to be cured, the others thinking it's a miracle and that power needs to be harnessed for the good of the village. That was too crazy, and I'm like, yeet, I'm out. So I leave. Parents are cool with it, sent them a letter, whatever, and went into isolation for a few years, reading some scrolls and everything. It got all interesting. Then I discovered a thing. I don't know what the thing is. It's a pretty cool thing. So I leave that tower. First stop on my way out on my journey.
Wait, what? You discover a thing, but you don't know what the thing is?
I need to discuss that with you, Sir DM.
It's a secret.
Okay.
Yes. So I stopped by a village. They're being attacked by bandits. Holy crap, that's bad. So I stroll on down there, and I'm like, I'm gonna save this village, use my magic, get rid of them, but I'm all broken and bloodied and everything. But they're like, yo, this dude's cool. He's a hero. And they help me recover, and some guy comes up that I don't know, and he's just like, yo, you want to be part of the aura, mate? You're cool. And now I'm here.
Do you want to do your personality traits as well?
Yeah, I didn't write too much on it. Basically,
It's fine. It's just to get a rough idea of what you're like.
he's quite, he doesn't talk a lot in terms of, starting up a lot of conversations and everything, but if something, really piques his interest, he can get quite into it and just sort of sit there and get very focused,
Scholarly bookworm type.
Yeah. And yeah, he's very interested in magic. He likes animals. They're real nice. And yeah, I don't really know what much else
Does
to
it have
say.
a specific animal?
Yes, I didn't know if I was mentioning the 3 things right now.
No,
Fair
we'll
enough.
do them
Okay. We'll come
afterwards.
back. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
That's alright.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me. That was my 5 minutes of fame.
Perfect. Boosty.
Yep. So this is me. My name is Aveline Aurelius, and I am an ex-member of the Stolven Guard. I lived there my whole life, and I got married really young to another guard within Stolven. His name was Emmerich, and yeah, we got married, and I have 2 children: an older daughter called Annette, and a younger daughter called Hilda. Even though that's part of one of my 3 things. Oops.
It's fine. Don't worry.
Part of my backstory anyway. But sadly, Emmerich was killed in combat, and my two daughters are old enough to kind of fly the nest, and they've gone out to do their own thing, and I've kind of been left alone. But I still have a lot of combat experience, and I was like, there's a lot more that she could still do in life. And then one day she goes, for my 5 minutes of fame, she goes and visits her older daughter, who's like a nanny, And so she's gone out and to like, just visit or pick her up from work or something. And they get attacked. This very highborn daughter and my daughter get attacked by like bandits trying to rob, because they know that this young girl is from a very prestigious family. And I fight off the bandits, or thieves, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, because she was so prestigious, he obviously caught like quite a lot of attention within Stolven itself. And yeah, I ended up attracting the attention
You got
of
your invitation.
yeah. So
Cool.
that is it, and I'm set forth on my new chapter in Viorum, because there is still so much that she's realized she can do, because age doesn't mean that you don't, that you have to stop doing everything. She is 40 years
Still have
old.
a life to live. Perfect. Awesome.
That's
Thanks.
fine. I'm far older than that.
Josh, your turn.
Okay, so my name is Kovu Rainfall. It's not my actual last name. Technically, my last name is Dirieva. I am a son of the Dirieva family. However, as a result of refusing to forsake magic and follow in the family merchant business, I was kind of banished, kind of just sort of sent away at a young age to essentially be raised by a monastery, the Rainfall Monastery, which is where I got my last name from. However, instead of spending time at the monastery just becoming a sort of monk style Zen dude, I traded with the various people, the various merchants that came through the monastery to essentially try and uncover any magics that they could potentially sell me through scrolls and books and the like. The monastery was regularly being sort of turned over by bandits in the nearby area, and eventually I became of a certain power that I thought that I could defeat those bandits and save the monastery from its would-be destructors. So I set off on a journey that took a number of days to uncover the bandit camp, and when I got there I unleashed my magics and killed quite a few of their number, only to return several days later to realize that my axe against those bandits had a knock-on effect, and bandits that weren't in the camp had retaliated and wiped out the monastery whilst I wasn't there. So I essentially came home to a bunch of dead dudes that had otherwise been raising me. For a while after that, I roamed the wilds and eventually met a Goliath that I became friends with, and I was approached by Viorum for my ability in taking down the bandit camp, and joined them when they offered me the promise of essentially traveling the world. One of the things that happened whilst I was in the wilds was that a aspect of Gaia, the goddess of nature, presented herself to me and explained to me that if I was to follow this path and seek to master specifically the elements, that I would essentially one day gain the power to right the wrongs of the world, which is very much what was in line with Viorum and caused me to join them. It's also why I am able to change the elements of the two elements that I've mastered so far, which are cold and lightning. In terms of personality stuff, I constantly have a slow moving sphere that just orbits me at sort of, I would say it takes about 4 or 5 seconds to pass in front of me, and it keeps orbiting me kind of all over at roughly sort of chest to head height. I don't imagine that any of you particularly know what it does, but it does glow with a colour based on the last element that I used in terms of casting spells. I'm otherwise a generally happy-go-lucky guy. I'm a bit of a prankster. I like to get everyone involved, but I'll take charge if I have to. I'm very interested in magic, not unlike Taryn. I'm very learned and studious. But I am a jokey kind of guy, always looking to have fun and look on the bright side. My bonds are the Rainfall Monastery itself, despite the fact that it has otherwise been destroyed. The fact that I revere Lianos, because she's the goddess of knowledge, plays in part with the fact that I am a learned wizard. And Gaia, the goddess of nature, because of this path that she seems to have set me on, as well as my Goliath friend Etin, I consider him a close bond that I have. But ultimately, given the time we've spent together, I consider you all to be quite close in our group. In terms of flaws, I'm very weak and will usually wait for things. Well, that's kind of jumping into my three things, so I'll skip that a little bit. But my strength is a 6. I have a -2 to strength, so it's fair to say that I'm quite weak.
Well under average.
Yeah, 10 is average, so yeah, I'm well under average. I do act a little bit recklessly if it means that I might learn something about magic, purely because I am generally incredibly inquisitive when it comes to magic, and I'm a little bit of a drunk. And that is me.
Wonder where that came from. Max,
Hello.
you are our oldest and our wisest. Would you like to tell us your character and backstory?
Yes. So my name is Etin Mountain Fist. I am a champion fighter, Goliath. And yeah, and I am, although a Goliath, I'm aged 35. However, although a Goliath, I am considered basically I'm very small for a Goliath. The average height of a Goliath, being 6'10". And basically my backstory is I was born into a large nomadic tribe of Goliaths from an unknown mother. My father, chieftain or Mountain Fist, casted me from a tribe due to my abnormal size. Basically, I was
a runt.
basically I was a runt. They considered me not to be a true Goliath because of my size. So considered the runt of the tribe, I was exiled, not to return until I could prove my worth. Although my father did not wish to do this originally, being chieftain, he had no choice and he had to show no weakness. So unsure of what I had to do, I pursued a path to prove my worth. Although I wasn't sure on how to do that, I traveled, aimlessly surviving day by day, sometimes pillaging small camps for livestock just to survive. However, I currently live in the wild north of the Wandering Wood, by quite a large lake just south of Dunbarlin. Is that right?
Dunbarlin, the dwarven capital.
Dunbarlin,
North,
yeah. And along in my time that I was there, I meet in Kovu, in being in that area. So we've kind of traveled together up until this point, but we've known each other for a few months prior to meeting the others. Obviously, in that time that we stuck together, I taught Kovu how to speak Giant. Whereas in exchange for Kovu to keep me entertained with the wonder that is magic. Obviously, I'm not that familiar with magic. I haven't rarely ever seen it, so he's just like, ooh, like keys, dangling keys type of thing, keeping me entertained. My 5 minutes of fame, which I've just literally
You wrote
thought
just
of,
now.
was holding up a bridge for a convoy transporting medical supplies south of Dunbarlin, which was heading towards Stalvin. This was a crucial delivery that had to arrive on time, and although the bridge was down, I was able to hold it up with my Goliath strength, and it was recognized by the king.
Nice.
Although I've not received a one-to-one.
You've not met him, but
I've not met the king. I've heard words of the king.
Wow.
Really appreciating my support, even though I didn't know
where did
who
this
these
happen?
people were.
Sorry.
This was south of
Dunbarlin. That was
Dunbarlin.
making trips to Stalvin.
There's no king in Dunbarlin.
No, he means the king of Stalvin.
No.
Oh, you mean the
King of
Stalvin?
King of
They were
Stalvin.
grateful for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was there's a crossing across a river.
The tail got back to the king.
Brilliant.
The tail got back to through the convoy, of course.
Okay.
So
once they arrived at Stalvin.
Yeah, that's cool.
So just to clarify, were you two approached as a pair from Viorum?
My understanding that was, given the delay, that we kind of were approached as a pair.
Given
and
that you've
sort
both
of
done things and they
accepted-
sort of heard things and saw you were
Yeah,
traveling
like
together and approached
we did
you
our
both.
things separately, had met, and then been traveling together a little bit, and then they approached us, and we were like, "Beats fucking
This is a
Rome in
good
the
way.
wilds." Like,
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, are you cool
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that, Etin?"
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm
Cool.
cool with that, Kovu. Thank you. Yeah.
Roughly your flaws and your ideals, Max. You don't need to go into huge detail.
Yeah,
Just give us an
sure.
idea.
So my personality traits, or
Yeah, that's
yeah,
yeah.
that yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
all of that shit.
So I've got no patience for noblemen. I
Oop.
don't like too much chatter. I prefer action rather than words. I'm slow to jokes, but I can't recognize sarcasm.
Nice.
My ideals are to prove my worth and to return to my home, to my tribe, to hopefully take leadership from my father, if possible, and also to protect people close to me. Obviously, my bonds would be my only friend outside of my tribe, which is, well, at the time anyway, I've met the others, would be my comrades that I'm with. And also, my flaws are I'm wise based on my age. However, I'm spontaneous. I tend to use brawn rather than brains at times. I'm swayed easily by food, drink, and gold. I love the female form. I'm a bit of a perv, but I'm terrible at picking up women.
Nice. So you can't do too much damage then.
Not too
in
much.
Not in that respect, anyway.
Not in that respect.
Okay, great. So just your 3 things. We don't need to spend loads of time on them. They're just nice little niche things that for people can get an idea of a little bit of quirks of your character and what you'd know about each other after spending some time with each other. So Lucy, your 3?
Should it be Ulrich?
Yeah. So
Oh, sorry, Ulrich. Yep. Oh, she's my baby sister, so I just automatically put her as the youngest. Sorry.
oh wow, okay, fine, he's going first.
Yeah, basically, you'll know about the dark blue scales across my body. I will have explained that it's part of this bloodline. I'm not entirely sure on all of the details of it, but I've researched a few bits and discovered enough about it.
Some draconic blood in you for some reason.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Part is because I'm such a nerd. Whenever there's something that I really need to think hard about, if there is a spell that we can't get past or something, I will just like crouch down and just start muttering random nonsense in all kinds of languages.
Comprehend
really
languages.
fast.
Nice.
Just-
I didn't
Like
take
trying
it.
to get your brain to like make sense of everything.
Yeah,
And,
incredibly muttery, just like the things.
Nice. You're an insane person. This is brilliant. I like it. Carry on.
And
Difficult
third
to
bit
RP.
is I love cats.
Mm.
They're so cute and fluffy and,
Yep. And intelligent.
adorable. That's just
Prefer
cat
elf.
best.
That's so smart.
And I should explain, I am a small white human with brown hair and blue eyes.
It's a fair shout.
Oh,
We
yes.
should probably do
Yeah, while you
physical
do that, can you
features as
explain
we
your
go,
visual
yeah.
really quickly, like Ulrich's stuff's done? That's been brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lucy, or shall I say Evelyn?
Okay,
Evelyn?
Avalon.
Avalyn.
Mm.
So
I'm gonna get that wrong. I'm sorry.
I am 40 years old. Well, 41 technically now. I am ginger. I am human and pale, freckled, and I have emerald green eyes. So the 3 things about me is I have my 2 children, Annette and Hilda, who are 20 and 18. I love like sweet buns and brioche. Like sweet baked goods are like my weakness.
I love that.
I love to bake them at home. And my 3rd thing is I have a habit of like nurturing and kind of adopting everyone and everything, and like always like I'm always trying to find the positive solution, and like I'm always mothering everyone and like that kind of thing. So there we go.
Brilliant. Thank you.
That's me then,
Josh.
I think, yeah. So in terms of physical traits, because I'm an elf, I'm actually quite old. But I spent most of my years wandering the wilds before I met Etin. So whilst I'm 155, elves mature at the same rate as humans. So I'm kind of like a 30-ish year old. I've just then been around for a while, but I spent a long period of that time fucking around doing nothing in the just forests of southern Dunbarlin. So I'm not as learned as another 155-year-old elf might otherwise be. I'm standard height about 5'10", standard weight about 10.5 stone. My eyes are a bluishy purple color. I'm slightly tan and I have short brown hair. Despite our friend being a bit of a runt, he still stands at a solid foot and a bit taller than me, so I still look relatively short in comparison to him. In fact, I'm relatively short for an elf. In terms of my three things, I have the Find Familiar spell, and as a result, I have an owl who has a slightly golden glow to her, which I have named after my sister, Alina. The owl's name is Ali, and I
Ali.
use her for the sake of the Find Familiar spells, but otherwise I treat her as though she is a loved pet, and you would all know Ali as the owl that kind of scouts ahead, usually flies above of us, sometimes rests on my shoulder and lands on my arm, for example. She's always within a few feet, or whatever the range is. I feel like it's 1,000, but I'll check. My second thing is that I tend to dismiss the fact that I'm clearly too physically weak to do average feats of strength, such as lifting something remotely heavy in the slightest. So rather than come up to something like a large door...
One sec. I think we've lost the other two.
We have.
Have we?
Yeah, they've dropped out.
Bum bum bum. I'm sure
Sorry,
they'll be
well,
back
you
in a
can carry
moment.
on telling Max for the stream and we can fill them in.
Yeah,
they
we'll
heard
fill
your
them in
first bit.
afterwards.
So they heard about Ali, so they just haven't heard about
Yeah,
My
so
brain's
in
gone.
terms of like, if somebody was lifting or was opening quite a heavy door, I would otherwise just pretend that I totally could. You know, it's just that we've got this Goliath here and he can clearly do it quicker than me, so I'm just gonna let him. Like, it's not that I can't, it's just that I'm busy right now. And my third thing is that I sound quite proper and well off, but ultimately I forfeited my family's fortune when my father sent me away to the monastery. And that is me. Where is the spell book on my phone? If it looks like I'm texting, I'm totally not. I am looking at spells.
What was your last thing?
That whilst I look incredibly well off, I actually don't have any claim to my family's fortune whatsoever because I forfeited it when I was sent off to the monastery.
Okay, Max, do you want to talk about yours? Your three things and how
Well,
you... I think you already covered how you look.
yeah,
You're just under 7 foot and you're a Goliath.
yeah. I've covered a couple of the points already from my personality traits and my flaws. So just to repeat those briefly would be that that I'm slow when it comes to jokes. I can't recognize sarcasm. Also about me loving females, but
Female form, yeah.
probably not seeing all types of females from all different species. I've been quite
Well, you've had quite a reclusive background, so
yeah,
I imagine that's
exactly.
where your fascination comes
Yeah,
from.
my fascination comes from that. So I'm not used to seeing this. However, my approach to speaking to them is not quite the same as it would in a
Your average
Goliath.
man.
Yeah, the average Goliath environment. And then also I don't know. Obviously, I don't know who my mother is. Every time I've tried to speak to my father, in the past about her, he dismisses any conversation about her or her origins. So he won't tell me who she is, where she's from, anything like that. My the village obviously being being respectful of the chieftain, don't speak anything about it at all. But as I mentioned before, I should technically be heir to next chieftain, but nothing being the run to being casted out for the time being. That potentially could be taken from me.
Sounds good. You
Mhm.
happy?
Yeah.
And roughly, how do you look? You're less than the average. You're less than the shortest Goliath, which is 7 foot.
Yeah, so I'm 6'10". I am 35. I'm 280 pounds. Obviously, just pure muscle. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'm tall.
Would you describe yourself as a rhino?
Quite possibly. I have got grey
Rhino
skin.
formed.
I have got grey skin. I have got grey skin or ash. Let me make it posh. I have got ash skin. And I've got hazel eyes. And I'm bald, being part of the Goliath
Race.
race. Yes, thank you. You know, we don't grow hair. Not there anyway. So yeah, no, well, you know. So yes, obviously I've got kind of like tattoos and kind of like markings across my head and on
Hey,
my
you're
back
back.
and
Hey
chest.
guys, you in?
Hey man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry,
the internet just really did not like Lucy's phone.
That's fine. If you
We
get
got
dropped
traded.
out, because I might be mid-flow during the session, just drop an email to the group chat and I'll try and pause wherever I am until you can get back in.
By email, she
Um,
means just like text
Yeah,
the
text.
WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
No.
I've had like 5 drinks because I'm nervous, so like...
No, I need an official
Full email.
correspondence if you get dropped
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
We
To
put
whom
in
it may
Josh's...
concern.
Shut up. We put in Josh's
For
thing
the attention of.
in the bloody Roll20 chat, and I'll get Max to put his 3 things in the Roll20 chat so you guys can read them so you didn't miss out, and then you can rewatch back the stream to save us.
Okay, some of them are. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Shut up, okay? Facts time.
I'll put it in.
I won't
There you
take
go.
this abuse. I
Yes,
might
ma'am.
kill you.
Yes, ma'am. I will.
Oh, there you go. He's posted your things in. You have my fact. Fuck you.
You have my facts.
Bunch of
Oh,
bastards.
fucking hell.
that is an old reference to conversations we had long ago. You have
Right.
my facts.
Do I have your attention?
Yep.
Go for it.
I'm
Warm
just
me
saying
up.
don't sound like it, but we'll go with it anyway. Is there anything else you guys want to tell each other about your characters or yourselves before we go?
I would imagine me and Kovu would have like quite a nice sort of relationship in terms of like magic.
I was kind
and
of
I
thinking
agree.
the same, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm visualizing around the campfire, like she's I don't know, Avelin's like
I
knitting
feel
or
like I'm
something, and Max
reading
is like
books
sharpening
all
a
the
sword, and you two are
time.
reading books and talking about spells you've read about.
Yeah, I
together.
feel like I'm preparing
Um,
spells and reading my spell book, and you're
I
looking over
am,
my
yeah.
shoulder, and the entire time I'm questioning whether or not you really understand what I'm reading.
I
Well,
imagine we'd also have a lot of fun just sort of being really dumb and shooting like lightning bolts at each other.
Oh hell yeah!
well,
Just-
as
I mean, that's
as,
a third level spell, but otherwise.
yeah,
There's probably quite a nice
I'm-
like teacher-student vibe, given that Kovu's 130 odd, and you're like
55.
20, like you're new into magic. He's not a super learned elf, but in terms of actual years and using magic, he's been doing it a long time. So I imagine you're both
Yeah.
intrigued by each other, your innate abilities and your ways to learn.
He's just like, dude, you got scales. What the fuck? And I'm just like,
That would
dude.
interest me.
Yeah. Like, how did that happen? And you're
How
like,
much-
I don't know. Like,
how
I
much
just woke
health
up.
do
And
you
he's like, yeah,
have,
but how did it
Taryn?
happen?
It's dragon puberty, you know?
Taryn, how much health do you have?
My health, it's like 42.
42. Damn.
Because of his draconic thing, it boosts his AC.
Ah. Well,
If
no,
I'm
that
not
doesn't
wearing
change your
arm-
health.
Not AC as well, just HP.
Oh, sorry, not AC.
I just okay. Well,
I'm wrong.
like just because you mentioned lightning bolt, I rolled the damage on a lightning bolt, and it was enough damage to kill me outright. So I don't think that we're shooting each other with lightning bolts, but maybe there's a bit of a cantrip
There's a few
sparring
cantrips
kind
you're
of
throwing at
thing
each other. I
occasionally.
can
Yeah,
imagine that.
I got a bit
over
like a ray of
You, like,
frost occasionally.
channeling
But...
like-
lightning into like one of your fingers and just like zapping each other.
Yeah, literal.
Yeah,
like,
and the
little
entire
dumb,
time, I feel like Evelyn's sitting there, like, gasping, like, worried that you're going to hurt each other, and Etin's sitting there completely fascinated with
Like,
the fact that you're
yeah,
throwing fire
just
at
like
your fingers.
fireworks.
Like, yeah, right. Yeah, I like that. Nice little picture of what you guys have been up to. Nice, I like this space. We'll keep this space. Okay, so the year is 419. So it is, just for context, it's set 15 years behind Arc 1, of which we have been playing. You guys are a part of Viorum. You've been part of Viorum from, depending on who you are, between 9 months to 2 years. So you've all been sort of that sort of time. I'd say probably Kovu and Etin. Sorry, it's going to take me a while to get used to your names. You probably were there first, and then the other two were brought in later, given the fact that you were traveling the wilds and you're a bit older. You've basically been called. You're part of the lower ranks. You've been formed a fairly recent group. You've been together about 9 months, roughly. You've been out on a few little missions. You've done some things around. You've done your trials at Viorum's main like camp area. You've got to know a few people. But essentially, they've been sending you out on test runs. That you can tell by now that they've been sending you out on smaller missions. That you're definitely better than this, but they just want to test you out and check that you work together cohesively. So you've been called into Viorum. You've been pulled in by one of the senior people to advise you that they've had an urgent request in coming from Stalvin, one of the main cities of Bela'Dun. And you've had something in from the Kingsguard, which is quite an important group of people who look after mainly the royal district in Stalvin. Apparently there's a crisis. They don't want to talk about it in detail over letter because it's pretty confidential and they don't want any information getting out. But they're willing to pay a high price for you guys to send someone in and to help them out with their situation. Given the fact that they're not willing to disclose too much about what's going on in Stalvin, the leader hasn't actually given you that much information. His name is Dasmar. He's just said that because they haven't heard anything about it yet, they don't think it's the worst case scenario in the world, but something is obviously going on given the fact that the Kingsguard have got involved and are willing to pay a high price.
Sevvi,
So he's told, yeah?
generally we would accept quests from the notice board in the common area of Viorum, so are you suggesting that we've gone to Dasamar because this one is particularly vague?
No, I'm suggesting that Dasamar has called you guys in and said that this is your first big mission as a group.
Oh, okay. So
you've
this
been
is
sent on
pretty
little
fucking
missions, you've been
important to
sent
us.
out on recoms, you've been sent out on like, oh, this bandit camp has littered this, go get their armor back. You've been sent out to these people because they haven't got their shipment of
So
food.
we've done the shit tier
Go
grinding.
save the sheep. Yeah, so you've done your shit tier grinding, you're feeling a bit shit about it, you've proven your worth, like it's very obvious that you guys are capable of more, but ultimately you have to prove yourselves before you get sent out
So
on
we're
the bigger
looking
stuff.
for the sort of E rank, what's the word? Graduation quest.
Yeah, so essentially that's what's happened. Something big has come in. All his big guys, who Dasamar, who is the head of Viorum, aren't really around. They're on more important missions. And like I
Yeah.
said, because they haven't given too much information, they don't know quite how dire this crisis is because they won't disclose too much over letter. So he's picked you guys and been like, right, this is your moment to prove yourself. Like, it's meant to be important. They're paying us, they're offering good money. So it's obviously something important to them. I'm sending you out. I can't give you too much information. Get your shit and you're going. So he sends you off. You get all together, you get your shit, you say your byes to people, you get your armor or whatever it is that you need from your rooms, and you go off to a meeting place. What then happens is you then speak to Dasmar. He sends you off to meet a small gnome called Fenry. Sorry, I didn't realise you were behind me. So you speak to this Fenry, and he basically tells you that he's going to send you off. The typical mode of transportation at this way is either by traditional methods, if it's not something important, but given that traversing Bela'Dun is particularly difficult, what actually happens is they have a few specific mages or warlocks or whatever you want to call them around Viorum who are tasked with the job of transportation. And this means that they basically use teleportation magic, which is strictly prohibited across the continent. But given that Viorum are a law unto themselves, but believe they are doing the right thing, they use the teleportation magic, but in a strategic and clever way as much as they can. So you go to meet this fellow, and he basically tells you that he's going to send you off on your way. You ask him what's happening, does he have any more details, and he basically shrugs you off and says, look, I don't know what's going on. I get given the location, I'll take you there, I'll drop you off, I'll come back, you do your thing. And so he asks if you're ready, and presumably you will say yes.
No.
No, I won't go.
Yeah.
Just to
I
clarify,
run.
you've had time to go and sleep, get your shit together. Like, I'm not throwing you in a situation where you like you're half naked and you've just been woken up. Like, you've been told to go here when you're ready to go.
Well,
So-
mid just like no, please, Decima, no.
I will say that it's rather unusual to be sent away on such little information, but if that's what you have, very well.
Okay.
It's not up to me. I'll get told the location. I'll send you. Like I said.
Don't worry, we'll get on with it. I'll make
You're
sure.
ready?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of pumped, just sort of
I'm ready to just get going, you know? None of this
Alright, mate.
talking, straight in there.
Yeah. Well, you all hold hands. You know drill by now. I've taken you a few places. Like, let's
Ali.
not faff about.
Come along.
So then he sort of stands and waits for you to either sort of like you've done this a few times to get around the continent. You know, you basically all have to be touching, and you can hold hands or just put your hand on someone's shoulder or something. But if you don't, then you're going to get left out, and that's going to really piss him off because this tires him out. So you guys all grab each other's shoulders or touch each other's backs or hold hands, whatever it is that you do. Anybody says, "You ready?" And he looks at you all, and given that none of you protest, you get a sudden whoosh of intense sickness. You hate this. Every time it happens, you try and delay it. You know it's coming. You'll spend that extra 10 minutes going to the toilet or fixing the belt on your armor because you don't quite want to go. You know it's going to be horrible. And especially this guy, there's just something about him. He just makes the trip 10 times worse. Like, he's a little bit creepy, and you always feel more nauseous when you come out of it. You almost feel like he does it on purpose, but you're not too sure how. Kovu especially feels like there's something he's doing to the spell, but he just can't quite figure out what he's doing to make you feel that nauseous.
Like, literally before we go, I'm like, just whilst I think of it, and then he teleports us. Like, oh fuck.
So you're going through this swirling mass, and probably it lasts about 4 seconds, but for you guys it feels about 30. And you know, there are moments where every second counts, and it feels like the longest moment in time. You feel like it's about 20 minutes before you arrive, and really it's probably only been about 25-30 seconds. And then you blip into a bright light, and suddenly you crash, and you feel yourselves land on a hard floor, of which, can you all roll dexterity?
Hell yeah.
Dexterity. Sorry, are we talking about
Dexterity
save.
saving throw?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nat 1.
Oh, that's a good way to start.
Yeah, boy.
First roll of the day.
Oh dear. Right. Well, here we go.
Hey, we did this.
14.
Nice.
I have disadvantage, so I've got to do it twice.
Oh,
You have disadvantage on dex saves?
Oh.
What? Why do you have disadvantage on dex saving throws?
I thought I had disadvantage because I'm in heavy armor.
No, that's
Stealth,
only on
darling,
stealth.
just stealth.
Oh,
We'll
just
take your
stealth.
first roll, 16.
Oh, okay.
So the first one to pull through is Avalyn. You get there, you're getting used to this now. You've been
Yeah.
around starving, you've seen a lot of magic in your time. You feel like you need to be sturdy for the others because some of them are a bit young and some of them are a bit, you know.
First instinct would be to like try and immediately turn, like look left and right and try and grab one of them as they like come down.
Yeah, perfect. So you're like, you want to get in there, you feel sick, but you're just putting it to the back of the mind. You're like, all the time the kids throw up in your face, and you just have to get over it and grit and bear it. You just want to get in, you want to get there and make sure everyone's up and okay, because you know they all hate this. Like, they bitch about it. Like, you don't want to deal with that. So you land and you're ready. You're the first one in. You're waiting, and then Taran comes in. He comes in. He's a bit whirly, but ultimately he's okay. He just about lands. Etin comes flying in. He just crashes out of nowhere, stands on his feet. Honestly, you don't know how he's made it because he's so bloody big. You think purely out of force of gravity, he's managed to land on his feet. You can tell in his face that he feels like his entire brain's going in 360, but he's fine. He's landed, and then you don't see Kobu. You don't know what's gone on. And then suddenly you hear this big whoosh, and you turn around in a big pile of like crates and boxes that have been left in this strange alleyway you seem to be in. You find Kovu like with his arms and legs hanging out the front, like looking up with a bird like hovering over above, just looking down at him, wondering what he's doing on his arse on the floor.
Not all of us have wings.
I like stretch out my hand and like dust him off and pull him up.
I take
Just
Avalyn's hand. I get out of the box and I'm like, I know how that spell works actually, and it's got very little to do with how personally strong you are. So
I walk over. I'm assuming we're all.
Sorry, you cut out for me, Max. You said I'm assuming we're all.
We're all on our asses.
No,
No,
you three have all landed on your feet. You and Taran feel quite nauseous, but you landed on your feet. Avalyn felt sick, but she's very much thinking about trying to get you guys up because she knows this is shit, and she sort of put that to the back of her mind. Kovu feels like shit is on his ass.
All right, cool.
Not
I'm gonna walk up. I'm gonna walk.
sorry.
Okay. Come on then.
Avalyn already helped me out.
Avalyn's rushed over to pick him up because you know
Okay.
she's worried about him in the box of broken crates that he seems to have found himself in and dusted him off.
I dust
dear.
myself down. I'm like, ugh. And then I cast prestidigitation and just clean myself up a little bit. And I'm like, I look up to the sky and I'm like, well, come down if you want the same. And my owl lands and I cast prestidigitation on my owl and clean her up as well. And I was like, very well, get on if you will. And she flies
So
off
as you're
again.
all doing this, you're dusting yourself off. You're trying to just you want to stand for a minute, make sure that you're not feeling like dizzy and sick, and you're just feeling frustrated about that this is the only way you fucking get around. You have to feel nauseous every time. You see the little gnome standing there, like half chuckling, like And as he looks at you, he half winks and then poof, he disappears into existence. And you're
So,
left
yeah.
essentially in this quite a narrow alleyway. It's probably about 8 feet wide. So you're all sort of standing there. You're not completely cramped. There is a massive pile of smashed crates. Luckily, they're all empty. There seems to be some sort of rubbish in one corner, but luckily, Kovu missed that and hasn't quite landed in the rubbish. So you're fine. You look up, it's quite a warm day. It's not, as I say, it's sort of springtime. You're not hot, you're not sweaty, but it's definitely, you don't need to worry about coats
What
or
was the
anything
gnome's
like
name
that.
again?
His name was Fenry. Fenry.
There you go, Fenry. Sorry.
I look at Etin, I'm just like, Etin, you know
Yeah.
Fenry?
No, should I?
You're aware of Fenry and his various works he sends us here?
Well, yeah. I mean, I never get used to it, really. I'm gonna be
No,
honest.
neither do I, but I have to say that probably in a short amount of time I'll have mastered that sort of magic, and I just want to tell you now that I hate him.
Now, behave yourself.
I'll have none of this, Evelyn. I'm quite sick of him. He sends us here on my arse. It's not what I would prefer. I've spent years in the wilds, on my feet, might I add, and I have never been put through something such as his teleportation magics. Once I have become a mage of such stature, and I kind of look at Taran as I say this, sort of being like, when the both of us have mastered this kind of thing, we won't need the likes of him, to put it simply.
I'm just kind of like laughing at it. I'm just like, you should just get better at landing.
And just as you're having this conversation, you hear a bell ringing. It's like ding, 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 very much like morning. You have a look up, you realize it's early morning. It's really warm. It's a nice day. It's very sunny. Like, it feels like a good day. You feel like it's putting you in a good mood, although ultimately you don't really know what you've come here for. And as you hear the dinging, you hear some guy shouting out, fresh bread, and you get this big waft coming around the corner of fresh bread that has obviously been baked first thing in the morning, and he's calling out for everyone in wherever you are. You presumably understand it's Stalvin, that he's made his fresh bread for the morning and everyone can come in and collect it. As you're standing around and talking and trying to figure out what you're doing,
I smell bread.
What is that smell I smell?
Are any of you familiar with the capital? I've not been here myself.
No.
do you all want to roll? Do you all want to roll history? And Evelyn, do you want to roll with advantage?
History.
Just to see, you're aware that you've gone to Stalvin and that you've been sent here to speak to the King's Guard for something. But honestly, your knowledge on Stalvin.
I mean,
let's have a look.
I've heard of Stalvin, but I've never been here before. I tell you.
Yeah. That's true. Do you two want another role? So first of all, Kovu, you've been to Stalvin once or twice in your time. You've been around a while. You've been here. It's not really your kind of scene. Lots of people, lots of happening. There's a few good spots here because there's a wealth of knowledge, being it's such a big city. But ultimately, it's not what you've really been about. You know a fair amount, especially more from your books than actually your time spending here.
That makes sense to me.
Etin, you've heard of Stalvin. You know it's a big capital and there's a king because you helped the king. You roll with advantage, darling.
Oh, me.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Taran, similar to Kovu, but obviously you've not been around as long. You know the basic history. You know that it's run by a family that have been in charge for a long time. You know there's a king. You know that he's got princes. You know about their involvement in the war. But in terms of the intricacies of the city and how it's set up, you're not too sure. You just sort of know of the broader knowledge and history of the city and how.
I would have read a book or two, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. But you'd have read more of history books. What have they done in the past, rather than where's your local bakery and that kind of stuff. Evelyn, you know this place like the back of your hand. Ultimately, it's been a while since you've been here. You've been gone a year or two. So things might have changed. You know what Stalvin's like. It's very fast adapting. They have a lot of people coming through. Things are always changing. Shopkeepers are always changing, for example. You know this bakery. You recognise this smell.
I lean into Etin. Go on, Etin.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, do you know, Etin, for those with such a short lifespan, no offence, these people seem to be quite pompous.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on these ones, but I tell you what I am keen is some of that smell of that whatever that is right there.
It's been a while.
Right.
I suppose I could be
I
convinced.
could do with a bit of bread.
Right.
While they're talking about
Very well.
this, Avalyn, you instantly remember the name of this bakery as Do It Yourself.
Yeah.
And that there's a middle-aged man that's there running it with a family, and he's got a younger sort of teenager that sort of he kind of does all the running at the back, but he's a little bit awkward and hasn't quite learned the art of
They
customer
have two
service
different
just
voices.
yet.
The guy at the bakery
Oh,
does
right,
he have two
yes,
different
yes.
voices?
He's going through puberty, so yes, that is correct. Just
I feel like
as
he might
you're-
be still in 15
Are you planning to tell everyone else that you know the bakery?
Yeah, I was like,
Go
come,
ahead.
enough bickering. I know this bakery. It's called Do It Yourself. I've been there so many times. They have
That's a great
delicious
name.
brunch there.
Such a great name.
How
So
quaint.
many times. Raspberry tarts. They have everything you could want. I know exactly where it is. Come, follow along.
And then just before you're about to step off and head
Do it yourself.
a piece of paper. Sorry. Just before you all start moving, you're up, you're dusted, you're about to go, and a little puff of smoke appears in the air in front of you. And a little piece of paper seems to float out your puff of smoke and lands in Kovu's hands. And I think I've put it in your journal, but honestly, I have no clue. put
Dee's
it-
message.
Yep.
Everyone,
is
if you would.
Gather round.
I'm gonna go to the toilet while you read that and discuss.
It appears something's been delivered for me. I'm not entirely sure what. I suppose possibly for the group. It says here, seek out a long-haired elf, a senior member of the King's Guard. He can be found at the barracks. Goes by the name Mercer. He's in charge of this venture, D. Are any of you familiar with this D and what he might?
Dickhead?
Quite possibly.
I grab him by, I kind of pull his ear. I'm like, ah.
Kovu, roll a history
And
check.
I'm going to.
History.
I want to. Okay, go on.
Carry on. I can roll history whilst you talk.
I want to just quickly just come close to Kovu and be like, Kovu, what's a dickhead?
It's quite fine, my friend. You're of the wilds. It's a colloquialism. It will mean somebody who is less than friendly, somebody that you might not like.
Okay. So, anyone I don't like, I can call him a dickhead?
Absolutely not.
You feel free.
No, but that's what you said, right?
When Avalyn says that, there's an obvious like, oop. Mum's told us off. I look at you and I'm like, maybe not all the time, but perhaps some of the time, friend. And I move away from you slightly to not gather the attention of Avalyn. 13, Sevvi, in terms of a history check.
Cool, that's fine. It suddenly occurs to you that you've been probably foolish in not realizing that this is Dasamar, seeing as he's the one that sent you the message.
Oh, I see.
And he's obviously found some more information. Given that he sent you on this mission, he signed it with D. Obviously, discretion is of the utmost importance of Viorum, so he's probably not wanted to sign his name. But given that he sent you on this mission, it would make sense, you think.
It
that
occurs
he's
to me in
probably
this
sent
moment, everybody, that this D probably refers to Dasamar himself. Think of all the time he's saved in not writing the rest of his name. He's an incredibly busy fellow. I imagine that he's moved on to many other things in this time. He's probably completed some sort of task.
We've already broken Max.
No,
So, given that,
not
Kovu's
yet.
obviously explained to you the message that you've received and that it's from Dasamar. You know you've come here to do something for the guards. Obviously, you've been given a little bit more information.
Where
from
are we
Dasamar.
in terms of Starvin? Are we still outside of Starvin?
No, you are inside Stalvin in an alleyway behind a bakery, you seem to believe, given the distinct smell.
Am I familiar with our location, or is it meta knowledge to know that we're in the market square?
No,
Based-
you are not aware of that. You know that you are in a place where there is a man coming outside of the front door,
Okay.
not too far from you, ringing a bell.
Ali, if you
to tell
would.
you there is bed.
And
I have
I
a
call my
question,
owl.
really quickly.
Carry on,
Evelyn,
Evelyn.
however, knows exactly where you are.
Yes. But also I'm just wondering, would like the city guard and like the king's guard, would they like know each other? Because then I feel like I could roll history to see if I know this person because I have a history with the guard. So
Yes,
that's kind
by
of
all
a question
means.
for Josh, really.
Yep, you can roll a history check to see if you know who this person might be.
What did you say with my name in it, Lucy?
I was wondering like if the king's guard and the city guard were like separate entities, or whether they'd know each other, or like.
They are separate, but they interact.
Okay, yeah, because I
The
have a
DM has
history with
spoken.
guard, so if we're looking for someone in the King's Guard, there's a possibility I know them or heard of them. So should I roll? Yeah, 15. Am I rolling with advantage or just regular?
No, just flat. You
Flat.
have That's not your history. That's a D20, unless you get a +0 to history.
Yeah, I get a plus. Yeah, a 0 to.
You're a 0. Okay, that's fine. I just want to check you hadn't forgotten it.
Ah,
You've heard of him, but honestly, you never grew up or lived in the royal district, so you never had much contact with the Kingsguard. They were, as you described, a separate entity. You've heard of him. You know he's definitely in charge. He runs the show. He's the sort of he's the sort of person that people look to in terms of direction and what to do. You've never met him personally. You don't think you've ever seen him. If you have, you didn't know it was him. You wouldn't really know where to start. Your best lead is probably the note that you've been given.
Evelyn,
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind, I understand in your time before Viorum that you were one of the number here. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It is. Well done for remembering.
And the simply the guard of Stalvin, not one of these King's Guard that Dasima's note responds to.
Yes, I was. Me and my husband were both part of the city guard. We know of the King's Guard, but they are a separate force within the city. So I do recognize this man, but
If
I
we
don't.
were to, well, a better question. Are you perhaps familiar with a long-haired elf, some sort of senior member of the King's Guard?
Yes, I believe I am.
And might you know his name?
No, I don't remember his name, I'm afraid.
Perhaps there is some sort of liaison that you may be able to interact with in terms of gaining the information about this fellow.
Yes, well, I know exactly where we are. We're in the market district, and I know
see.
the way to the royal quarter, so we could make our way there.
I'm not familiar with the makeup of the capital. I've graced this place a number of times. Perhaps you could lead. I will
Yes,
be pleased to follow.
yes. I grew up here, so I can show everyone the way. Come along. And I show.
Taran and Etin, are you doing anything specifically while these two are having a back and forth about where they should go and who Evelyn knows specifically in the city?
Not really. I'm
Like I
just
said, in terms of scouting, you've just heard the bell ring for fresh bread. You know it's a
Yeah.
sunny day. You know it's morning, and you know you're in the middle of Stalvin's
Are
marketplace.
people in Stalvin familiar or comfortable Goliaths?
I wouldn't say they're uncomfortable, but you are unusual. Very
Right.
much like if someone was to have a pet lizard, you'd be like,
So-
"Oh, that's odd," but it's okay.
Yeah. So I'm just going to. I'm just
Definitely
gonna.
getting looks.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
people are
so
definitely looking
that's
at
what
you.
I'm saying. So
but
I'm
people aren't throwing tomatoes at you in the street.
so I'm not really doing much than just being a bit self-conscious about the fact that I'm a giant man being stared at by like all these small people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's quite a
I'm-
big city for you. I suspect you've probably never been anywhere this big on this grander scale.
Never.
This is quite early in the morning. We're sort of like 9-10 in the morning. All the shops are opening. Everyone's starting to come out. It's fresh. Everyone's fresh-faced. So
Yeah.
it's not quite bustling. It's not quite like,
Can I see this
mid-heat,
is
but
going
everyone
on?
is
That
coming
Etienne's
out.
looking a little bit uneasy.
Roll perception.
I feel like my perception is +11, but I'm really not sure. Also, I haven't put a D on that, so it's probably not going to roll very well. Bear with
I
me
can't
a
see a
second.
roll, but that doesn't mean it has an
I haven't rolled it yet. No, it's only a
there you
plus floor. A plus floor.
Floor.
A D20 plus the floor. Whatever the equivalent is of the floor, add that to my modifier.
You suddenly get this wave of nausea from you think it hasn't quite hit you, but standing back up quite rapidly and trying to shrug off the fact that you fall into a giant box of crates and then getting a big woof of bread, you realise that you're quite nauseous and actually some bread would go down so quite well. You are not paying any attention to it.
Evelyn, if you wouldn't mind, I suddenly seem to feel, for the moment, that scent in the distance. You said you knew its location. Perhaps we could
Ye-
frequent it, if that's okay.
Yes, it's a bakery called Do It Yourself. I know it well. We can go along.
Very little
We should-
time for such
First?
idiotic names. Perhaps we could.
What a great name.
We won't be working our best if we're feeling nauseous, so let's head there first.
I'm sort of like a bit sort of jumpy and excited and everything because obviously I haven't really been here. So I'm just sort of I run down and have a little look about and everything. And as we're
Yeah.
walking, I'm just sort of like, Avalyn, yeah, you know of any like cool magic shops or something like around here, like any libraries and
Is this
things?
loud enough for us to hear?
I'm not like shouting it. I mean like
You're all walking together. I suspect you all to be walking in a group of 4. So unless you're specifically trying to be quiet, I would say that you can all hear each other's conversation.
Okay.
Currently, you're trying to walk out of the alleyway and into the part of the marketplace so you can get to the bakery. It's not like you're in the middle of like 18 market stalls where it's really loud and
Yeah, yeah,
bustling.
yeah.
So unless you're specifically trying to be discreet, I'd say you can hear each other's conversations at this point.
Okay.
Yes, Karen, I do know of a few magic shops and of some magic teachers, such as a gentleman with the last name Obstrict. I believe he exists during this time. I know several of them, but that's not what we're doing right now. Let's quell our nauseousness, and we should continue on with the mission. I don't want to get too distracted within the city. You know, my family are here, so let's just get on with the mission.
I don't wish to overload you, my friend, but I'm quite familiar with the library in the center of the city. I don't know the way, but I'm sure it exists.
Okay, and it's about this point because you knew you were pretty close to the bakery anyway, because the minute you landed, you got this big woof of smell coming out through an open window. You arrive at the front door of the bakery, which the door is wide open, and there is a queue of people inside seemingly waiting for their morning fresh bread. What do you do?
Should one of you wish to take the lead?
First, and
Yeah,
I'll-
I'm. I just push through everyone and get to the front.
As he does, I'm like, Etin, and then like.
You hear a big grumbling of,
not
oi,
heard.
and oh, mummy, he pushed in front of me, and like just a few bit disgruntled. People are quite polite, and there's definitely a very morning routine, but you're definitely getting stared at quite heavily now. Definitely ticked off 1 or 2 people.
I pay no attention. I'm just so fixated on food, and I'm going to the front.
And I'm
Like,
like, Etin,
you know,
Etin, and we're like, same
like-
as Cobra, we're both just like, Etin.
I want one of your what do you call these things that smell so good? I want one of those.
Meanwhile, I'm
And you're-
creating a small minor illusion for the child to distract him from the fact that he just got cut in front of.
You've approached
Running damage control.
an older woman. She's got a few crow's feet. She seems quite placid and calm. You've got the vibe that this is where she belongs. She's used to this. She's not bothered by it. She's like, yes, I can serve you, dear. That's not a problem. What exactly is it that you want?
What do you have available?
It is a bakery, dear. Bread.
Okay.
Would you
then-
like some bread?
Then yeah, just give me some bread then, please. Give me 10 pieces of bread, please.
Is that 10 loaves?
Am I within
Or
range?
1 loaf, which can be split into 10 slices, sir, because there's quite a different price.
Am I within range, Sevvi?
Yes.
Remember, I have no
You can hear
knowledge.
everything that's going
I
on.
have
He's
no
not being
knowledge of what
quiet.
this is.
Everyone's watching.
Yeah, I have no knowledge of what this is.
If Avalyn and Taryn aren't looking to intervene,
I'm just like behind Etin, and I'm like apologizing to the people behind him.
I'm
Like,
gonna
so I can't tell what's going on.
I'm gonna
with Etin.
step
I was, like,
alongside
behind
Etin at this point.
Sorry.
Then, as Evelyn quells the crowd, I'm gonna step alongside Etin and just be like, "Terribly sorry. We're a group of 4. If you have a loaf, perhaps with some sort of currants or something like that, something that makes it somewhat interesting, that would suffice.
Sweet
He's
buns? Would that do you, dear?
excellent. He's not the best with numbers. Please don't pay any attention. But certainly we can provide you with a point instead.
Evelyn, you like brioche, don't you?
I think you may want to tell your friend to calm
This-
down. These are my locals, and they do come every day, and I wouldn't want to put them off. I'm happy to serve you, but you may need to tell your friend to just, you know,
No,
quiet
I'm
it down.
terribly sorry. This is him actually at his sort of standard mood. He's
Oh,
it's quite
really?
quite a
Okay.
friendly fellow actually. He
She's
means
gonna
no
look
harm
up at
at
him
all.
like, I really should kick you out, but you're big.
I
and
appreciate
I
he's
just wanna
quite
get
tall. Do not feel intimidated in any fashion. We can certainly pay you. And I reach into my coin pouch and retrieve like 1 gold, and I'm like, certainly we have the coin for any sort of arrangement that you have. Simply,
That's not quite. How many sweet buns is it that you require? And I can just give it to you, and you can go on your way.
oh, there's only 4 of us, so maybe 7. 1 for the rest, 3 for the big fellow.
Well, let's say.
That math does not work.
You have
For the
1
rest of us,
extra.
4 for the big fellow. We'll have 1 either for him or extra. I'm told they're quite
Well,
good.
let's call it a let's call it 8. A nice round number for 2 silver for
Take
for
the
the
gold
disruption.
for the inconvenience. Thank you very much.
Oh, why? Well, thank you. I'll get them for you right away. And then she's gonna turn around and she's gonna be like, Bran, I need 8 buns. And then you're gonna wait, and she's gonna look at you, and she's sort of gonna do this movement as if move along, and then hope that you will just take the hint and move along to the left, and she's gonna speak to the next person.
Really?
Yes, I can help you. Do you want the usual, dear? And then carry on.
Seems like we'd be served here, but okay. Yes, we'll stand off to the side.
Yes, if you just wait there, then my son here will bring you your goods. Just wait there 2
Yes,
minutes.
exactly. No, yes, this wasn't.
I like-
clear at
So you
all,
want
but
your
fine.
usual? Oh, you want 2 loaves
Oh,
of bread? You got your mother
cool.
staying, is that right? So then she's going to carry on talking to customers.
Cool.
Kind of ignore the fact that you've disrupted and
yes,
try and
right.
get back to the queue.
I can't wait for this bread, Kovu. Like, oh,
And then before you know it, you hear a big.
I'm just not paying attention to anything that's happened. It's just, I just want this bread.
I put my hand kind of on like a kind of lower spot on Etin's back and kind of push him along on a walk so that he kind of follows that like off to the side with Kovu and kind of keep him distracted.
Yes,
Well-
I expect it's going to be quite sumptuous, and I cast prestidigitation and make the
Coming,
bakery
Mama!
smell like in front of Etin's face. And I was like, I expect it to be something like this, and I like move my hand slightly and like waft up the smell towards his face.
And just as you look down as you do that, you're going to see about a 13-year-old boy standing in front of you with 2 paper bags, looking up at you, like mouth open, like.
I look back at him and I'm like, it's okay. He's quite imposing, but not at all aggressive.
He's slowly going to take a step back
in
and
this
another one
instance.
back, and he's
Right.
going to look at you and he's going to go.
I would recommend, if you were looking to not gather any sort of issue, that you would perhaps leave the bread if you intend to continue stepping backwards as you are.
And he's going to nod at you and go, 8 buns.
Yes.
And then he's going to do this.
Evelyn, if you wouldn't mind, and I'll step away. And given that Kovu is also a tinsy bit of a drunk, I'm going to reach inside my various garments and pull out a hip flask and have a bit of a drink, regardless of the time.
And then, so he's going to pass off his. Do you take these, Evelyn? Do you take the 2 bags of 4 buns each? Paper
Yes.
bags. Cool.
Yeah.
So he's going to give them to you as quickly as possible and sort of half nod to you, appreciate that you're a lady and you're more of a mature woman. You're obviously a mother, and he doesn't want to be disrespectful because he might anger his mother. And then he runs over to his mother and he sort of pokes her in the side. She's like, yes, yes. She's searching people and she sort
I'm
of leans
just
her
like,
ears
thank
down.
you.
And all of you. Actually, no, I'll use passive perception. That's fine. And Etin, just out the corner of your ear, while you're waiting, you're avidly waiting for Evelyn to look inside these buns and hand you out something. You hear this little boy talk to his mother and go, "He's so big, Mum. He's so big." And she's like, "Yes, yes. Well, get back to the bread before it burns." And off he runs back into the back room.
I'm gonna poke Kovu and be like, he said I was big. he said I was big.
I'm not sure if it's occurred to you, Etin, but in these sorts of environments, and indeed in the environment that we met, you're rather large.
No, but you know, Kovu, that from where I'm from, I'm considered small. I've just been called big. You don't know how much that means to me.
I appreciate the range that you're referring to is quite complex. However, as you can tell, given my stature, even for an elf, you're quite a large fellow. Perhaps not amongst your kin, but in Stalvin, certainly, I wouldn't expect anything other than this sort of behavior.
All right. Well, let's go and enjoy this.
Excuse me, and then if you turn around, you see that the lady at the front desk is sort of pointing to you and saying, I don't mean to be rude, but you have your and it's quite a small shop, so if you could just, and then she sort of points at the door as if to say, I don't mean to be rude, but
What?
get out. You got your shit. Get out of my shop.
What do you say? All right, thank you.
And she's gonna give you this strong, independent woman look, like, I may be a baker's wife, but if I need to get you out of my shop, I'll get you out of my shop. And she's gonna give you a stern frown, like, get out of my shop.
Yeah. I like you. I do. Well, thank you for the bread. And
You're welcome. See you another time, perhaps.
Very good.
At the
Yes,
back of the
thank you.
queue.
Thank you very much. We'll be on our way. I would expect that you've perhaps maybe never seen an owl do this, and I have Ali fly down and then fly through a sort of hoop that I create with a minor illusion, so that she kind of like does a 360, like she flies kind of backwards on herself.
And then Eton dives through it.
It immediately like disintegrates as he moves through it and then reforms.
She looks at you, raises one eyebrow, and then tuts and shakes her head and carries on. So it was 2 loaves you wanted, wasn't it? Sorry. And at the same time, you look around and there's this little girl who's probably about 4 years old, who's looking at you like,
I have Ali land on my
convinced
arm.
it's not a real owl, and it's obviously some kind of magic that she's heard of, and she doesn't understand what's going on. But whatever you just did was the most fantastic.
I'm gonna put Ali close to her and just be like, she's quite real. You feel free to test. And as she like strokes her, I'm gonna be like,
She pulls her mother's sleeve and looks at her and sort of gives her a, Mummy, can I? She's like, oh well, be careful. Sort of reassuring of you can touch it, but don't go wandering off with this strange man. So she tentatively reaches forward and tries to stroke the owl's head.
Ali's physical. It works.
I didn't know that, so that's what I was broaching.
Yeah, Ali is physical. She's celestial, but she is physical. If I understand,
yeah, so
familiar
she strokes
correctly.
her head, and she's quite young, so she's like, oh, hello, little owl, and trying to stroke her, and then I assume Ali would ruffle her feathers in a typical owl movement, and she'll
sort of
do a
moves
half
around a
jump,
little
like
bit.
she's not too sure if she's hurt the owl or if she's about to fly away, and sort of steps back and holds her mother's arm. And then when she realised that the owl is perfectly fine, she sort of half smiles in wonderment, and this is definitely the best day that she's ever gone to get bread.
So I, having got this response, I'm just like, all the best. And we turn, and I sort of half lead Etin away, hoping that Avalyn will sort of take her lead as the sort of main leader of the group and lead us towards wherever we're actually going.
Well, I'm just going outside because I just want to eat this bread. So
yeah,
I'm totally fixated on bread. I'm just walking, looking.
Roll perception for me.
Okay. I think my perception is just a +4. Let me just check. Yes, just a
So
+4.
you're am I right in thinking you're sort of the other two are sort of leading out the door as normal, sort of Avalyn's leading the way, saying, right, this is the way we need to go, let's get out the shop. You're pushing it in kind of a like, right, we've got a bread, let's go, and you're sort of pulling up the forefront. And just as you're leaving, you're hearing you hear her whisper to her mother and still tucking her arm and saying, Mummy, can I do magic like that one day? And the mother sort of looking at her and rolling her eyes like, oh, she doesn't quite understand quite how the world works. But you sort of walk feeling like you've shown someone of the younger generation what magic can do and how it can bring joy, and you feel happy with yourself.
Definitely.
Ah.
And then you step outside with your 2 bags of brioche buns.
I feel like Etin's already eaten a
morning.
whole one and is on his
People
second.
are rushing past you. That you can tell that it's that it's a while. You probably haven't seen this ever, Etin, because it's very much a homebrew village you're in. Everyone grows their own things and bakes their own things. You've not had so much this city lifestyle. Kovu's very used to this. Although he spent a lot of time in the wilds, he understands what's happening. Everyone's in a rush all the time. Everyone's trying to get places, trying to do things. They have a schedule they need to adhere to. Everyone's
Hey, you're back.
as quickly as people are going into the bakery, they're coming straight out. And as you can hear people coming on, and they're right, you need to go. Can you go to the butcher's? We've got my mother coming over for dinner. And at the same time, you've got other people rushing and they're eating their bread. And it seems like they're on their way to work or whatever it may be. And you find the whole thing very disorientating.
Yeah,
Like no one's really talking to each other. No one's really having that connection. For you, if you went and your mother, your family made bread, you were all very interconnected. To just go to see a person that you barely know and then give you something for some strange metal and walk away, it's quite unusual for you.
Yeah.
Kovu's very used to this, and it's sort of like, oh yes, this is the way of city life. I don't miss this at all. So as much as you guys find this unusual and you don't appreciate it yourselves, you look at it from different perspectives. So this is very unusual and daunting experience for you.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, my actions, I'm not that I'm being selfish with my actions, it's just I'm from a background where
This is not the norm.
This is not normal for me. There's no queuing for something, there's no money exchange.
No, exactly. There's the woman around the corner making
there's
bread,
none of
and
that. So,
everyone has eggs and chickens, and they share things
there's
around.
none of that.
This is a very strange concept to you. You understood the concept of money and trade. That's the thing that happens. You have traders and merchants that come in through your place. You buy things, you purchase things. But for everyday practices, to go to a shop that opens at a time and everyone queue for you find this very unusual.
all of that, absolutely. And I'm completely oblivious to how the other guys might be thinking, or my actions and what they've done. I'm completely oblivious and just do my thing. So feel free, guys, to rip on Etin for his actions.
I feel like, obviously, completely up to you guys what you do. I feel like you guys have spent enough time with each other that you've gone to enough places now. You've gone to a few villages. You've gone to like a couple of docks by the sea and stuff. You've seen sort of Etin's reaction to the world and how places are very different to what he's grown up in. And Avalyn especially, you've grown up in Stalvin. You've seen things grand scale. You're very used to this way of life. You appreciate how this can be very overwhelming for Etin. Taran, slightly on a less scale, but again, this is just a big scaled up version of what you know. So although you can find it very busy and overwhelming, you don't find it as shocking and inspiring as Etin does. So I feel like you're all at a place of appreciation for your different backgrounds. Kovu has a different edge. He's been around for a long time. That sort of shows, but ultimately he's very understanding of all your backgrounds. So you're all in quite a good place. You've come out of the bakery. You're sharing out your bread. I feel like Avalyn, I can't say it, I'm sorry. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you have the bread. You still have the bread, and you're handing it out, and you're sharing it out, and making sure they're not being.
Yeah, I feel like I would be kind of like tearing, passing the bread out, and then like, eating the bread as we're like walking, and then like showing, like kind of pointing to where shops are, and like explaining the city, and like that kind of thing. Because obviously I lived here, and
I feel like you three have eaten brioche buns with currant and a sweet topping before. Etin, I would say this is your first experience of a
I'm
sweet
drinking
bun.
whilst I eat.
So bear that in mind. It's been a while since, obviously, you guys at Viorum, there is a dedicated canteen where you can go get food. They do have sweet treats, but there wasn't a specific bakery on site. It's not like that. They don't get that specific dedication to individual crafts. You don't have a butcher's, you don't have a bakeries. There's a canteen. You can go buy things. You can cook your own things. So Avalyn, this is very much a homecoming for you to come back to what you know and you love. You haven't seen it in a while. Kovu, same again.
I've always enjoyed being off the grounds. Don't you all agree?
Off the grounds, sorry.
Yes, home at Viorum, Etin. They have quite a lot of land, but it's quite nice to get out in the open. Feel the open air.
Well, for me, I mean, I've always been outdoors, so this is nothing. This is a new experience for me in another way.
Quite nice, don't you think?
Very diverse. There's lots to experience here. We can show you many foods within the city if you like them.
Well, if you know somewhere somewhat interesting or niche in some fashion, I'd be happy to frequent it. I'm flush with coin for the moment.
Etin, do you want to roll a persuasion check for me?
I do, because I want to say something. I do. Persuasion, was it? Sorry?
Well, yeah,
Uh,
persuasion. You do whatever you were going to do, and then I'll do what I was going to do based off your roll.
Okay.
Taryn, you guys are connected, right?
Yeah,
Okay, I was just checking that you weren't typing because you hadn't dropped
so
out again.
that
That's fine.
that's
I
my
type
roll.
because people
Four.
talk, and I don't like talking over people.
Just shout over them. Tell them to shut up. It's fine.
Yeah, then.
So
I'm fine with it.
Taryn first. You're in the marketplace. You're passing. You can see there's a butcher's. You can see there's a general goods kind of guy selling. He's in the middle of the marketplace with with a cart or two and a horse, and he's trying to sell off deck of cards, and he's trying to sell off a piece of cloth and a rug he found around the corner that's of the best quality ever. Selling every kind of riffraff. Also your generic shops. You can't see an armory or anything that specific where you are, or a specific magic shop. But you are under the impression that you're very much in the shoppers market area. Evelyn's explained this to you. If you wanted to find somewhere specific, you probably could. But at the moment, you're just sort of seeing a bakery, a butcher's, and general merchants selling in the middle of the street. Etin, you are very confused by the taste of this bun. This is the sweetest thing you have ever tasted in your life, with bits in the middle of bread. Bread for you is savory. You eat bread with meat. This is like a dessert, but it's kind of like a breakfast. You're very confused, and as you bite into it, your whole mouth explodes into full sweetness mode, and you're just quite not sure how you feel about it yet.
Okay, fine. Have I ever had anything sweet before?
You have never had a brioche bun. You have had sweet things such as natural fruits and berries, but to have a sweet bread in this fashion with fruits ingrained in it and some kind of sweet icing on top is very unusual. Nothing you've ever had.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about this bun. What's her name? Evelyn. Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Evelyn.
It's Evelyn, darling.
Evelyn. Sorry, I'm not used to your, common human names. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not used to this sweet taste.
I think you might be quite indulgent. These breads, there's all kinds of different sweet things around the market. We can try some other things.
I don't want anything sweet. I was looking for something like
Meat.
Meat related.
Well, it's not really around in the breakfast hours. But I'm sure we can find somewhere.
Surely
like I don't know, like a sheep or a cow or something. There must be something around here that I can have something like this.
Short of murdering nearby cattle, perhaps we could find some sort of inn or something like that to feed the big fellow. I look at Evelyn as I say this.
To be honest, I've lost my appetite, I'll be honest with you. Right, I think aren't we meant to be meeting this Decima guy or Decima guy?
No. We're meeting with a long-haired elf.
Oh,
There's no question mark.
Sorry,
That is correct.
I mean, long-hair elf. Sorry, I mean, Mirtha. Is it not Mirtha women? Sorry.
Is that the mention of Mirtha, Kovu, that you do remember that you guys have somewhat been distracted very early in the morning by bread, but ultimately you have had a long night's rest. You have just arrived in Starvin with a mission, and you've just been given fresh information, and you feel that maybe
I'm
the guys
sorry,
getting
Etin.
distracted by food.
Maybe I've had a few drinks, but who the fuck is Mertha?
Mercer.
Oh, I see. You.
I mean,
elf.
Mertha. I don't know what the name of this girl is. All right. Why do I sound so fucking London?
It seems perhaps we're going out on a bit of a fool's errand. Let me reread the letter here. He's a long-haired elf,
Oh dear.
a senior member of the King's Guard. He can be found at the barracks. He goes by the name of Mercer. It seems we have everything in terms of the characteristics of the fellow. My understanding was that Evelyn was leading us to his location. Is that not the case, Evelyn?
That is exactly where I'm taking you right now, and we're
Well, I
walking.
don't understand your issue, Etin. What's the problem
Well,
here?
Just for context and for ease of time, Evelyn, you are aware of the barracks. They are on the outskirts of the
My
Royal
issue?
District.
My issue, Kovu, right, is that we're going off on all these other trips to eat and what have you, when we should be getting on with this mission.
So, Evelyn,
like,
at this point, you very much realise that you've all been eating bread for nearly an hour, and you know exactly where the barracks are, and you are more than prepared to lead them to them. It's on the outskirts of the Royal District, sort of on the crossroads of the next district.
I'm gonna
and,
screw
exactly
the
where to go
top back onto my flask and put it back within the garments that I wear, because I'm not wearing any sort of armor. And I look at Etin and I just say, "Listen, my friend, I understand that you have some issue with the fact that we are generally roaming, but my understanding was that we were hungry. I certainly was, and Evelyn here has led us on the road to this Mercer fellow. Perhaps I could interest you in this." And I use minor illusion to create a firework that sort of goes about 5 feet up and then immediately ends, because that's the range of minor illusion. And then as he's like staring at that, as it dissipates, I look back at Evelyn and I'm just like, he's distracted for now, carry on.
I'm
love.
just scowling at him right now, and then I just pull the bow. I pull him away like a thong. Enough tricks for today, Kovu. We have a mission to continue on with.
Yes, but if you wish for the big fellow to come with us, I suggest we keep this going for a while.
Taryn, what are you doing at the moment? Given that these two are being doofuses about bread and Apple's
I'm
trying to
just-
wrangle them into strict work mode.
I'm just sort of entertained. I'm just sort of stood around laughing a little bit and
Awe
everything.
of the city.
Is there a cat around?
Is there a-
Are you are you specifically looking for a cat, or are you just wondering
No.
if you noticed one?
I want to
fuck
know
it.
if there is one and if I would have noticed if a cat.
Perception, please.
Taryn,
If
my
anyone-
understanding is that you have some knowledge of these arts. Are you perhaps familiar with anything of this level? And I create like a minor illusion.
You have not noticed a cat. Oh wait, Etin, why have you rolled a 4?
I don't know why
Huh?
Etin
I
is
didn't- I
rolling
didn't roll a
this
four.
up. You
Etin
did.
Mountainfist has rolled a d20 -1. Sorry, Taryn. I assume.
Wait, what? No,
That's
that
my
was
roll.
that was to do with
That was
Was that a while
earlier.
ago?
That was
Okay,
no, that
don't
was a
worry.
while back. Yeah.
Okay, don't worry. Taryn, you have not seen anything since you've come out of the bakery, but just as Evelyn is trying to wrangle the troops, you catch a glimpse of a cat on a rooftop of the bakery and then jumps off around the back of the back. He looks ginger.
Taryn, at the same time, I have minor illusioned a bottle with a cork in it that like shakes and then explodes into fireworks that only reach about 3 feet above the bottle.
I as he like asks if I've seen that and everything, I'm sort of like, yeah, and just sort of staring off into the distance towards this cat that's jumped off, just really dismissing it. Just so yeah, cat. It's so
Okay.
cute. And I just
Uh,
slowly start edging myself in that direction, whether or not
Nice.
anyone notices.
nice.
We'll be back.
Evelyn, what do you do right now?
BRB, BRB.
I'm trying
worries.
to wrangle them like a mother with triplets
Chicks.
and just corral them. Just corral them to the direction that we're going, and every time they get distracted, I have to like yank the ear of one of them, and like
Cool.
keep them going where we're going.
So are you all in agreement and to follow Evelyn towards the barracks that she knows?
My
to go and
intention
find
is to
Mercer?
follow Evelyn whilst distracting Etin enough to get him to come with us. I'm trying to work
like
into
a
the
like a cat with a toy above them. To get
yeah,
them to run.
I'm trying to
Okay.
do a parental thing here, but ultimately failing at the otherwise overarching parental nature of Evelyn. Admittedly, there is a whimsical nature of what I'm attempting here, which does somewhat lend itself to childishness. I'm also slightly trying to get Taryn to join us. in the childishness. But I'm not sure what cantrips he's aware of.
Well, he's
I
very
mean-
studious, but you're not quite sure what spells he actually knows and what spells he's actually read about. So it can be
Exactly.
quite
He's
confusing
read about
about
many spells.
what he
He's
can
read
actually
most
do
of my spells.
and like what he
'cause I've-
talks about and what he wants to do and what he can actually do. You get a bit hazy about where he actually sits in between all of those lines.
I will say that, like, amidst every now and again seeing a cat and being like, "Ooh, kitty," I'd look at the illusions and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I read about those spells and everything. Couldn't quite grasp them though. Like, I was more interested in some other things. And then
Come along, Taran. You must have something to distract the big fellow.
Yeah, I'm gonna I just need to quickly double check about this cantrip.
And while you're talking about this, whatever you do come up with or have discussions you have is on the way. Once you've done that, then as you kind of conclude, you will be at the front of the barracks.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to use dancing lights
Ooh,
to
good
create up to
spell.
4 torch-sized lights, and yeah, they appear as glowing orbs. That's what I want to summon them as, and they just sort of fly around in a
So
nice
whilst
little
I use
pattern.
minor illusion to make the world's shortest range fireworks, you create like dancing lights that sort of swirl around them and kind of lean into the firework display that we're giving Etin to make him come this way as he sort of like blindly reaches out towards it in his I'm like trying not to use the words idiotic stupor, but at the same time, that's kind of what I'm going for a little bit. He's kind of like reaching for them somewhat as we guide him towards what Avalyn is essentially leading us to. Having cast Minor Illusion to create this and recognizing that I've managed to gather Taran's attention and get him, or convince him rather, to help in this leading of Etin, I look at Avalyn and I'm like, so you're familiar with this Mercer, are you?
Well, I wasn't part of the King's Guard, but yes, I have seen him before, but we've never spoken.
I see. And would he entertain a audience with you?
Perhaps, yes. If I mention my husband, maybe he may have known him better. He was higher ranked than me, so
Whilst I appreciate the years.
I know us within the city guard, obviously, so we could probably find us an audience with them.
And whilst it perhaps has been many years since you have returned here, do you think perhaps that you might have some sort of insight as to the nature of his request?
Oh, you've cut out a bit.
Do you
know what he's asking
understand
for?
the nature of his request? Do you know what he's asking for? Yeah. Do you have any idea?
No, can I roll like insight?
Nope. And then
On a
as you
letter?
two are having this discussion, you hear halt! And you guys all turn around and you see 4 King's Guards standing in front of a rather strong but gloomy looking building. With weapons. Not out, but definitely their hands on their hilts and holding, 2 of them are holding sturdy looking shields. What do you do?
As they were shouting halt, I would sort of be stood there in like a weird pose because I'd be like dancing the orbs around in front of
Yep,
Etin. I'm just sort of there like, huh? Just
The guy on the far right is going to elbow the guy next to him like, that dude, like, watch him.
As I'm walking up to them, I am somewhat under my breath whilst moving my hands in a general sort of slowly, what's the word? Like smooth rhythmic motion, just sort of saying something along the lines of like, reach out past the various people ahead of me, and I cast Mage Hand behind them. And then tap on the shoulder of one of them. Let me just check whether or not Mage Hand has a physical thing. I don't think it does. But if it doesn't, I'd like to use Mage Hand to like sort of garner the attention of one of them by just sort of having it appear slightly within eye range and then dissipating
Which one? So
immediately.
you've got 2 in the middle which have big shields, and then you've got 2 on the outer left and right who don't have shields but big ass greatswords.
So there's 4
Which
of
one
them in total.
Yeah, so there's 2 by the front doors that you can tell would have big ass shields, and there's 2 sort of next to them, say about 5 feet away, which have big ass great axes, and they've got their hands on the hilts, looking very protective. And on the left hand side are the ones that have clocked his dancing lights and has pointed to the guy with the shield, like.
That's
"Keep an
fine.
eye on that
Magic's not outlawed at this point. Of the 2 that are immediately in front of the barracks, it's the one on the left that I want to essentially just bring a hand around, so it sort of comes like about here, and then just as
Okay.
he's like, "What's that?" it disappears.
He looks at your mage hand, completely disregards it, and glares at you.
As
Says, "I don't." What? Carry on.
Go on.
No. You tell me.
Well,
What
my
because I don't
intention
wanna-
was to use the mage hand to just slightly distract him for a moment as I try to gain the attention of the other one, because that one looks distracted at wondering what the fuck was my mage hand. And as he looks over to it, if this is legit, I look at the other one and just say, "I'm terribly sorry, good fellow. It seems your accomplice here is somewhat distracted. We look to gain entrance to the barracks, if that's okay. We have..."
And at this point, this guard is going to turn around and go, "I may seem distracted, but I do not fall for your magical tricks. What is it you require from coming to our barracks?"
I want to step forward and say, "Hello, my name is Evelyn. I was with the city guard." I'm kind of like
Evelyn.
to the group.
Very much
Aurelia,
implying she wants to hear your surname.
Aurelius. You may know my husband, Emmerich, before he passed away.
And the guard who is on the right hand side with the shield, who by this point now you're getting the sense that he's sort of, there isn't a leader of these 4, but you feel like out of the 4 he's probably the most experienced and the one that sort of takes the headway on conversation. And he sort of looks at the other guy with the shield next to him and is sort of like, yeah, he was a good, yeah, I remember him. Yeah, do you? No, I didn't work with him. And you can hear them sort of having this you can only hear bits and pieces of back and forth about your husband, and you feel a little twinge of heartache knowing that people still remember him, but at the same time there are people out there that don't remember him, and that makes you sad but proud at the same time. And you sort of, you hold your own waiting to see what they say.
Yeah.
And they say, "Very well. What is it you require? We don't let just anyone wander into our barracks."
We merely wish to speak with him. We just need to speak with Mercer.
So I used to be able to mute my headset by turning my mic up to the top. It's fully fucking broken, and as a result, that doesn't work in the slightest. So I have no mechanical mute anymore. I apologize.
That's fine. No, it's fine. Don't worry. It doesn't. It's quiet enough that when you tilt it up, it's not a big deal.
Just hear a lot of tapping.
In response to you, Evelyn, the guys gonna look each.
I'm the only one writing notes. So.
The guy on the right hand side with the shield, he's going to refer to his guard. They're going to have a bit of a back and forth. They're going to turn. They're going to talk to each other, and they're going to realize that actually they're quite exposed. So they're going to slightly turn so their shields are sort of outwards facing you, and then carry on having this conversation while still making sure they're looking at you, because ultimately they don't really recognize you. They don't really know who you are, and then they step back and they go, "Very well. We recognize your ex-husband's name, and he is known at this barracks. He served us well. We were sad to lose him." And sort of slowly bow your head towards you.
I bow back to them and just say thank you.
We can grant your access. Where is it that you come from, or you bring your message from, so that we can make him aware?
We're travelers of sort. We have passed through a fair amount of Bela'Dun, and it's in various locations.
And he's going to interrupt you and say, "I don't need your excuses. I need to know clearly where you have come from and why you wish to speak with our senior Kingsguard. He does not have time to waste."
Simply
and they're going to glare at you.
The north of Stalvin, my friend.
From where?
And
then bear with me one moment.
We bear mark from a number of locations.
And at this point, you feel like the way that he's spoken to you, he's not fucking around with you. He will not give you what you want unless you're honest with him. He needs something to give you something back.
We bear mark from a number of locations. I myself and my larger friend here have travelled south of Dunbarlin for a number of years, and that is perhaps where we might call home, if that is simply where you ask. Though, to be honest with you, at this moment, I do not think that perhaps bears too much bearing on our current location. In the south, as we are, much travelled.
At this point, he's going to look at you, narrow his eyes, speak to his comrade, who's then going to look at Evelyn and say, "Who has sent you?"
No one has sent us. We are travelers, and we have found something of his, and it's personal to his person, and I don't really feel comfortable showing everyone. I'd rather we just be able to just talk to him, give him what we found, and, move on.
As my comrades suggest, we're quite familiar
Enough
with...
of you! You have spoken enough. And at this point, the two guards on the outer side who don't have shields but who have swords will strengthen their hold on their swords. And the main guy who has been conversing with you says, "Very well, you may come with us and you may speak with him, but I will escort you."
It seems
And
you're
he motions for the other guy to open the door.
terribly
I put, like, my
Ignoring
hand
you
mistaken.
completely.
and,
You
bow my head.
you may continue as you wish, sir, but it seems that perhaps it is incredibly within your interest to simply lead us to Mercer.
And it seems incredibly with my interest that you are not being completely honest with me. And my one and sole reason for being in this position is to look after Stalvan and to look after my Kingsguard. So if you will not be completely honest with me, then I will be completely honest with you. I will not leave you with Mercer.
Perhaps
You will enter or you will not.
Perhaps I have not been clear. It's within your best interest to present us to Mercer and simply leave us with him for as long as we discuss the various things in which we need to discuss with him. And then I
Roll
cast
persuasion.
suggestion.
Interesting. Go on then.
You need to go on then. It's a wisdom save. Let me check.
Hang on, let me get my bard cards.
If you can get to it before me, race is on.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a
okay.
second level spell.
Wait.
I'm
So
not
what's your
waiting. It's
specific
called
part
a
of
race,
suggestion?
bitch. My suggestion is that he leaves us with Mercer for as long as we see fit to converse with him.
And yes, it is a wisdom spot. It is a wisdom save. Yes.
Called it. Got it right without even getting
And
there
what
first.
do I have to beat?
Well, maybe you
Oh,
should
easy.
roll it
Maybe.
first, and then you'll know what you hit. 16.
You rolled 16.
Oh, that means he beat it. But he doesn't know I cast suggestion.
Okay, very well. As I once said, I have been given a task. Come with me or don't. The choice is yours.
Certainly our intention is to come with you, but once we
Very
have...
well. And he'll motion to his guard, and the guard will open the door. Given this conversation, he figured that he knew where this was leading, and he knows what his mate is like, and he's not going to give up. Once he's set on a path, he's set on a path, and he starts walking in, and he looks back and says, "Follow or don't," and then carries on walking.
I
expecting
look
you
at
guys to
Etin as
probably
though
catch
I'm
up.
annoyed enough for him to start killing people, but not enough for him to actually do it.
And then he will walk into the barracks.
I look at
he
him and
will-
I'm sorry.
And you guys, I assume, to correct me if I'm wrong, in the sake of time, you guys will follow him and try to keep up with him. He is walking at a fast pace through some hallways, down some stairs, round a few corners, and enters into a final room.
I'm
You
happy
guys
to
may
keep up with him.
discuss and catch up with each other on what you may have missed in that time. But he is not conversing. He is strongly striding through
Can I
while
whisper?
keenly looking back to check that you guys are following him.
I
and
want
not
to.
going off
I
into
want
any
to
strange
attempt to
corners.
whisper to Evelyn. Can I do so without him hearing me? Do I think I
you
can do so without him hearing
You
me?
can certainly try.
Do I need to roll anything to determine whether or not I think I can whisper
You
without him hearing me? Okay, cool. So I get close to Evelyn and just say... I'm going to need to wait for Ulrich to stop typing.
I think it's Lucy typing, but yeah.
I don't think so, based on what just got typed. I lean in close to Evelyn and just say, I believe perhaps I might be able to influence influence our fellow here. If we continue upon this purpose, I may be able to send him away. What would you say?
Taryn, could you roll perception for me? No, it's fine. I know your internet's being a bit crap. It's fine.
It was like just a bit. We're back now. It was just a little bit like robot-y.
Okay. And Taryn, could you roll Arcana for me as well?
Arcana. I think it's these. It is. Yeah. 22.
22. Taryn, you have not noticed the conversation that is happening in the hallways, but you did recognize what Kovu was doing out the front with the guard, and that he failed. Do with that what you will.
I could not hear that because it
You're
cut out.
familiar with the fact that I tried to suggestion the guy out front.
You have not heard the conversation he's trying to whisper with Evelyn. You can act upon that as you wish, be it nothing or more.
I'm just sort of, taking things as they come. I'm just sort of strolling through.
The entire time we're in this city, in front of this guard, and walking down this hallway, there is a small 3-inch orb orbiting me at any point.
Yep, that's fine.
It's just slowly flying around me.
Yep.
I have this
you
stone.
don't know whether the guard
It
are
floats
completely
around
disturbed
me.
by this
They don't
or whether
seem to
they're
give a
completely
shit.
used to this.
Yeah, I'm just
They
saying.
are not letting anything on. If you want to cast insight, if you want to roll insight, you may to see how they feel about your orb, especially this guy. That
I'll
is
roll
completely-
insight to see what this guy thinks about my orb. Oh, I'm not that great at insight.
Well, you've committed to it now.
I am proficient in it. 8.
As far as you can tell, he hasn't even noticed your orb. And if anything, you're slightly offended that he hasn't noticed you have a glowing orb around you all the
I
time.
don't mind. It's just a factor
But
of my
fine,
life.
he's obviously of a lesser race.
Seems to
Anyway,
be learned
No,
in the way
you
of
carry on
magics.
marching through these barracks. You see a number of guards walk past you. Some of them in a rush. Some of them are talking about their lunch break. Generic kind of things you would have expected. Some people of importance, some people not so much. And you get brought into this room, which has not a lot in it, honestly. There's a rack on the side which is quite empty. There's another rack on the left side which has a shield and 2 bows, but nothing else. And there's a bookcase in the corner, and there is a big. It's almost like a frame on the wall with some pins, and you're not too quite sure with some notes. Nothing that you can read up close. You'd have to get really close to read them and see what's going on. But it seems like this is kind of a meeting place for people, but not kind of a place where people hang around and have a good old nissanata. And as you walk in, you see that's rude. This human, by the way, 6-foot human, walks you into this room, leads you through, and says, "Speak as you may."
I look at Etin at this point.
Tall, he's probably about 5'11" at this point, quite slim built, long hair in a lonely ponytail, but you can see it looks like he might have some bangs at the side with dark hair, quite pale skin from you can tell. You can't tell from this angle whether he's an elf or whether he's a human.
He's talking in
But
common,
he's definitely... right? Yes, everyone's been talking coming up to now. He's got his hands behind his back, standing upright, very much in a thinking leadership position. And you get the sense that this is Mercer.
I turn to Etin at this point and say, Mokhtar Guktareye, which means, in Giant, he says, speak as you will, but I don't trust him. And then I look back at him and I just say, I believe we've been sent to meet you, my friend. And I look at Evelyn to sort of lead the conversation from this point onwards.
And after you say this, you hear a voice of, well, yes. But if you speak in my quarters, you'll speak in my language. I think that's fair, do you not?
We all have our secrets, friend.
Yes. And I believe you have requested an audience with me. And he turns around, and he's got quite a plain face. Not unattractive in any fashion, slightly attractive, but you wouldn't call him anything special. He has slightly sunken eyes. He has long lashes. He is human from what you can tell, but quite tall. He's very much 6 foot. looks very much in charge, and he's not, you can tell that there's not a sense of arrogance about him, but he very much knows that this is where he belongs and he is in charge, and that is what
Yeah.
goes down.
Given that none of this is particularly magical in essence, I take a half step back and continue my look at Evelyn as though it's her turn to lead.
And he'll sort of slowly scan his view across sort of Lee, trying to gauge who is approached, and he'll say,
Also,
so why have you requested my audience?
just to confirm, given that we've headed down many alleyways and all the rest, corridors and all the rest, at some point Ali has landed back on my shoulder and is just sort of slightly nuzzling amidst my bag
that's
and
fine.
hood.
I assumed while you were outside she was flying and sort of bopping around, and then once you got into the barracks she landed on your shoulder and sort of stuck with you as you
Yeah,
walked
she's
through.
about the height of my head, and she's
You've
just
gone
sort
down
of
about
like
3
happily sitting
corridors,
there,
down a set of stairs,
chilling.
taken a turn, and ended up in a back room, which you can tell isn't, it's in a corner so that people aren't walking past it all the time.
I could
but
totally
it's
open the
not
door to this
a
room. I
prison or
don't know why
anything.
any of you would suggest that I couldn't.
Anyway, so he has asked you why you all here. What do you say?
Like
he had very actually
100%.
Kovu, very
100% in character. It took Max the longest time to realise that was me suggesting that I'm like strength weak.
Sorry, I just didn't laugh. I didn't laugh like
it was perfect. Kovu,
like
can you roll
Etin.
perception?
I didn't
please?
laugh. I didn't laugh like Etin, but that was Etin laughing.
I'm pretty sure my perception's a +4,
Kovu,
so
can
there
you
you
roll
go.
perception?
Yeah, no worries,
and,
17.
Sorry, bear with me. And Taryn, could you roll Arcana again for me? Carry on.
Perception.
You do notice that
Discreet.
it's deception, guys. God, let's keep him with the theme. So
Right.
you very much clock that Mercer has spotted Ali. Slightly raises an eyebrow.
She's a
We
big
don't-
ass owl.
You're not quite sure whether it's admiration or apprehension.
Ali,
that you have.
whilst facing the exact opposite direction from Mercer, turns her head 180 degrees and looks at him and just goes, "Ooh."
You're about 70% sure that there is an ever so slight corner upturn of his left hand smile.
Shut up,
You
Max.
would never bet on it, but you think he might appreciate Ali.
I expected more than.
That's
Taryn,
what she
can you
says.
Roll an Arcana for me.
As Mercer recognises Ali to potentially be anything other than your standard owl, Ali does like a little hop, and in the hop, she turns 180 so that her feet are facing the same way as her head. And she has a slight golden shimmer to her because she's ultimately a celestial being.
Nice, okay. So you're not quite sure whether he disapproves or approves of Ali, but you've definitely noticed that he has noticed her and taken
I don't
note.
care because I love her.
Taryn, you get a sense that someone that you are not used to in this room has some sort of arcanic nature about them.
It's not
But you
me.
You haven't quite figured out who it is. You know it's not any of the people you've been traveling with because you've been around them long enough. But someone here has just a little something about them that's just made your hairs go on edge.
Are we alone in the room with Mercer, or are we still with the other guards?
You were still with the guard who was at the front on the right hand side.
Just the
with
one
shield.
guard.
Okay, right, just with that one guard.
Can I look at Evelyn at this point?
Yeah, I want to.
Just bear in mind, the last thing that happened in terms of actual real time beyond description is Mercer asked you guys why you are here. And as of yet, none of you have responded.
Yeah, I want to step forward and tell him it's important that we speak to you alone. And we found something that may interest you.
Roll persuasion.
Okay. And then kind of throw in, like, my name is Evelyn Aurelius, and I don't mean any disrespect to be here. I wouldn't waste your time. Kind of funk. Right, persuasion, you said, right?
Yes, please.
Persuasion.
Disgrace.
No, wait, I'm the DM, I can't sing! Very nice. He's going to take a deep breath and say, I have heard of you and your husband. He did us a great service many years ago. For that I will grant you your wish. But do not be misdirected. If you are misdirecting me, I will have guards. And they will attack.
Of course. I would expect no less from the
And with
king.
that, before he even lets you finish, because ultimately he doesn't think actually you have any power, he's going to dismiss the senior guard, who's going to give him a quizzingly look of a very slight second, and then he's going to disappear the room, and he's going to shut the door, at which point you are all left alone with Mercer.
As he says about the fact of like, yeah, there'll be guards and everything, I sort of glance a look over at Kovo and everything. I'm like, do we look that dangerous? Because I don't feel
Innocent
dangerous
little
at all. Because I'm just
I
sort of like,
I throw a look back to
boy.
Taryn that is something along the lines of like, we're pretty dangerous.
I let
There's
off
just
like
Arrogance, I believe, is that word.
yeah,
Anyway,
there's just an element of arrogance that's like, yeah, we are.
so you've all noticed that the main guard has sort of looked at this Mercer and sort of slightly begrudgingly accepted that he may leave the room. He's left the room, he has shut the door, and Mercer is looking ever so slightly
Sevvi.
frustrated.
Just before he leaves, can I look at him and just go like without saying too much? I just look at him like, yes, fly. And, like, motion to him to fuck off in a really cunty way. Like, I appreciate the suggestion spell didn't go through, but now that he's being dismissed, I'm very much like, we don't need you anymore. Carry on.
has
What a
that
bit.
feeling of like arcana.
He's going to look back at Mercer.
Yeah.
And they're going to exchange a look, and he will leave the room and shut the door.
Has the sort of feeling of magic disappeared?
I don't use magic then.
Do you want to roll Arcana?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Can I do the same, or did I not pick up on it previously?
You have not picked
Ooh.
up on it previously.
Well, neither
You
is
are
Taryn,
unsure.
apparently.
You can still feel it, but you cannot quite sense if it's maybe coming. It's dulling, but you're not too sure if that's because you're getting used to it or because it may have left.
Okay.
Uh-huh. What's detect
So
magic?
we-
That's a first level spell.
So we need to
So
act.
are you all? So he's left the room. He shut the door. You've done your thing, Kovu. Mercer is going to turn around and go. Very well. You have 10 minutes of my time.
Oh, good.
Why
That's
are you
all I
here?
need. How much emphasis is on my position in this scenario? Because I've motioned for Avalyn
He's
to take the
very
lead.
much talking to Avalyn. He is outright ignoring you. If anything, making it
Excellent.
as obvious as possible.
Can I spend the next 10 minutes casting detect magic?
What does that involve?
It takes 10 minutes to cast it as a ritual.
Okay, but is it the kind of thing where you're gonna have to be humming and doing this kind of nonsense?
It's
or
not
is it the kind of thing you
humming
can
and
do it?
doing this kind. It's a verbal and semantic spell. But
So you will
whilst,
be having to say something out loud, and you have to be doing some kind of action.
whilst I stand in the background, I am doing sort of a like motion with my hands, like motioning out like Tai Chi. I'm sort of like moving my hands within themselves and then pushing out towards
As
the
you
walls.
start, Mercer is going to full on confront you and say, "This is my place. If you wish to do things like that, you may leave. Stop, and you can stay."
Yes, I appreciate that, my fellow, but
And
unfortunately
I appreciate that this is my barracks. If you wish to do such magics, then you may leave. You asked for an audience with me. You will stop and you will talk to me.
You see, the issue is that we've rather been sent here to talk with you. It's not so much my choice as it is my task. And if you don't mind, I'd like to carry on with my various tasks.
I
as
do
you
mind.
discuss with
And I
Avalyn.
would
But
rather
perhaps
anyone
you
that
won't
I work with
after
ask me
this, and I
questions
cast
rather
suggestion
than
on him.
cast specific magics.
Can I cast suggestion on him?
You can certainly try.
Wisdom save.
What's
Can
the
I
save?
can I insight check him?
You may, yeah.
I want to determine how intelligent, wise, or charismatic he is.
No. That's not how that works.
Well, the only way for me to do this without meta knowledge is to roll it.
You can determine how honest and true he is being in this situation. You can determine whether you think he's being an arse to exalt power, or whether you think he's being this way because that's his character and he wants to know that you guys aren't here to do harm. That is what you
Hang
can
on,
determine.
let me go back to a roll that wasn't just talking to Etin. It's only a 10. I'm trying to determine whether or not he is a intelligent character, a wise character, or a charismatic character. I rolled
You
a
cannot
10.
determine that.
So you're telling me I have no clue which 3 of those stats would be the best to go with?
Believe that he understands many things, and you do not feel
He clearly
like
understands magic.
Let me finish. You do not feel like he is trying to fob you guys off.
No.
He is merely trying to ascertain why you guys are here and if you are being honest.
Can I ask,
Yes.
is he not aware of this this task being publicized or anything
Yeah,
like that?
Let's cut out of the scene for a second. He is very much aware that he has sent off a letter
Yeah.
and then nothing since.
Okay.
He has had 4 strangers show up.
I'll tell you what then.
Why don't we just show him the letter?
No information whatsoever about
I'm
where
going to
they come
go
from or why
ahead
they need to
and
speak
not
to him.
bother. I'm not
Other
going to
than him
cast
trying to cast
suggestions.
magic on his
why don't? No,
gods.
forget all that. No, why don't you just show him?
Yeah, no, I agree with Etin.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, both of you stop talking. Both of you
like-
stop talking. He is a senior Kingsguard, destined with protecting the king, who has been in the position for a long period of time. 4 strangers have shown up at the barracks, demanding to speak to him with no reason whatsoever. He is highly suspicious, and he wants to ensure whoever he speaks to and reveals any information to is
absolutely.
honest and
I like
correct.
the exact opposite of what
Absolutely.
you're saying.
100%.
As Etin pipes up and just says, "Why don't we just show him his letter?"
Why don't we just show him the letter?
I stopped
Why
casting.
are we spending all this time
I
talking
stopped
about?
casting
Hold that
and
thought.
produced the letter.
Good. Okay.
And I want
brilliant.
to
So
explain
you say,
that
"Why
we
don't we show the
consent.
letter?" Kovu whips out a piece of paper from his pocket. Taran, what are you doing? Sorry.
I basically, because they're all having a kerfuffle.
I love
and everything,
this.
I've been stood in the background as he's
Yeah.
given a letter. I want to slip past and grab it and just be like, "So we've been sent by our boss. You like sent a letter and shit. Like, we got a job to do for you or
You
something."
want to slip past and steal the letter out of my hand?
Yeah.
Just sort of grab it and just be like,
Roll
Okay.
sleight of hand.
"Yeah."
What am I rolling
Yeah.
in contention?
Slowly. No, you're not.
Please don't make me roll strength.
I'm not rolling, making you roll anything. because you're
I'm not
extremely-
strong.
Stop talking. You're extremely involved in what you are doing and paying
Stop
no
talking.
attention to
Stop
anyone
talking.
else.
I'm not
Stop
talking.
saying-
I'm
So-
just saying.
Oh,
I'm not
that's
strong.
good. That's all.
Taran, you very much try to take it out of Kovu's hand, but he is flouncing all over the place like the what's it that he thinks he is, and you just quite missed by a few centimeters.
I began making
you-
the
Either
semantic
way, I
components
still
of the
like-
Stop
suggestion.
talking. You
Ruler.
carry on walking in with your purpose, and you think, "Stop it, I haven't got the letter, but I'm going to say what I was going to say anyway." And you speak. Stop. No.
I get Taran in the headlock and
God,
squeeze him.
it was so much worse than what we were expecting.
Right. You roll a strength check, and Taran, can you roll a? Oh God, fucking.
You want me to roll the
I want to
strength check?
literally.
Actually,
just
No,
be like,
this is
come on.
perfect.
Are you sure?
You all stop talking. Etin, I want you to roll a athletics check because you're trying to grab him while he's moving. Taran, you get the choice of athletics or acrobatics.
You say
No,
athletics check.
Honestly,
Stop talking.
this is perfect.
No.
Can I make a
Etin,
tear
you are
check,
trying
like-
to grab someone that has come up behind you that you weren't aware that you were trying to grab while they were moving. Can you please roll an athletics check or sleight of hand? It is your choice.
Okay.
Taran,
That
you
one.
can roll
Ooh.
like that one, so it's kind of irrelevant.
Fuck
You
you.
fool.
Hell.
Just
It
Well,
was
I
athletics
scratch.
or acrobatics. Just for RP, can you tell me which it was?
I'm
it
not.
was,
I'm not looking to get fully involved
athletics,
here, but what I will say is,
No.
Sevvi, let me.
Oh no, acrobatics.
As
is what I wrote.
Avalyn
Acrobatics, thank
says, enough. Kovu goes still, because of the motherly influence that is Evelyn, and as a result, instead of waving around the letter that is the semantic components of the suggestion spell, Kovu goes still. Taran misses the letter because he's suddenly stopped, and Etin steps in and fucking headlocks the guy. As Evelyn said enough, Kovu's just standing there like, oop. And we're all, like the three of us.
And I've gone, oop.
Yeah, you've got him in the headlock. Just like, oh, we're all still, except for Evelyn, who has the floor, as far as I'm concerned.
And I step forward
Enough!
and I'm
And then at that very moment, Etin, Taran, and Kovu are all held in position.
yeah.
You can do
And
nothing.
That's a high-level hold person right there.
You say nothing. You
I
do
wa-
nothing. You go to move. Evelyn, he looks at you,
Mhm.
says to you, I hope you can speak your sense before I am bored of this act.
Yes.
Who are you and why are you here?
I
Stop
step
wasting my
forward.
time.
I step forward and I tell him, we have been sent by Viorum. I believe you have contacted us and you have a mission for us.
All roll
We
perception.
had to find other means
Did
to
you say
enter
all?
it.
Everyone roll perception.
Okay, cool. Can you make us roll investigation? Because I'm much better at that.
Sorry, carry on, Evelyn. Ignore Kovu and his nonsense.
10. I can't roll above a 10.
Oh man,
9, 10.
I don't see
4.
shit. Oh no, Evelyn
You're
is
too
worse.
busy headlocking Taran.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, Taran. Your head is within Etin's arm.
You don't know
Honestly,
what my
Taran,
head's
anything like above
It's
a 5,
within
I'd
his
given it
arm,
to
I
you,
know
but for
that.
that one, like, dude, I'm really sorry.
Sorry, man. You are right between my pits right now. I'm just saying.
You are smelling armpit hair. Kovu is massively frustrated because he can't do shit and he feels really out of control.
No,
and
I'm just
Etin, you
there,
are
like.
No, that's how you feel. And Etin is completely confused. He does not know what's going on.
I just want to fight. Like I don't
He's
I don't
waiting.
understand. Like what was it?
He's waiting for you to
what is all this talking about?
You can't say shit. Shut up. Evelyn,
That's in my
talk.
head.
It's in
he's
your head,
waiting.
yeah. Meanwhile, Ali is on my shoulder,
No,
like.
anything in your head or anything like this
Woo.
goes in the roll 20 chat. Shut up.
Yeah. Agreed.
Evelyn,
Yeah. So I'm like, we are sent by Viorum. We believe you sent us a letter for a mission. And I apologize for the way my comrades are acting. It's been
do you have any proof that
trip.
you have been sent by Viorum?
Yes, and
I look
gestured
at
to
the
Kovu
letter.
to
I
pass
can't move
me
my
the-
head, but I'm looking at the letter.
I gestured to Kovu to pass me the letter. And,
I have
you
no
know,
choice.
other look of like behave.
I'm not moving.
So you take the letter out of Kovu's frozen hand and do you pass
Yeah.
it to Mercer?
Yes, I show the letter to him.
And for a moment, he listens to you. You take a step back. He waits for you to stop talking. And he
Mhm.
seems to make some sort of noise and some sort of hand gesture over this note.
Hmm.
And after about 12-15 seconds, he seems to look up and he looks at you and goes, very well. Does this kind of hand gesture. And suddenly you are all able to move again. He points his finger up and says, but enough! You have come here because I have sent for you. All of this was quite unnecessary.
I immediately start looking in my spell book and showing Taran what kind of spells would be like possible for this kind of magic.
At this point, he's going to look at Evelyn and say, thank you for finally deciding to clear things up. And he's going to look at you three and say, if you wish to be a part of this, I suggest you hush down and listen. If not, you can leave. The door is there.
I look up at him from my book and just say, you're quite the caster, my friend. This is quite impressive.
Yes,
Have-
I am, and I'm not afraid to use it. I suggest you shut up and listen.
Well, certainly. I perhaps you
Very
have
well.
something to teach, or
Is
He's
Mercer
gonna-
is Mercer a man? Sorry.
He's going to severely glare at you, and you feel quite intimidated at this
Okay.
point.
Yes.
All of you.
at me or at everyone.
No, you and Etin,
Okay.
specifically.
As he looks at me and Etin, I
You
assume
very much both feel like if you carry on pushing your luck, you are going home.
Yeah, but I look at Etin, assuming the look is at Etin, and just say, "Don't worry, he's quite more imposing than he intends to be. He's actually quite a friendly fellow."
Actually, it's implied to all of you. I suggest you buckle up and listen if you want to be of any use to this city at all.
Very well. The lady here is much more of a leader than I intend to be.
Very well, and he's going to like half cut you off as you're finishing your talking because he's quite fed up of all of your antics. Other than Avalon, he seems to be the only one who has any respect for. And he's going to look at her and go,
What
Oh,
did I do?
and he's going to look at her and go,
That's a fair point.
you are a previous guard of Stalvin, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Oh,
And
As
you
shit.
understand
Close
this
my
city's
couch.
history? Am I
I do.
correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Very well. What I tell you now stays within these four walls, and if I catch wind of you revealing this to anyone other than us, then there will be dire consequences. And then he
Us.
continues. Huh?
Nothing.
Don't be a dick.
It
He then
won't-
continues
it
to
won't open my
explain
spell book.
that 3 days ago they had a crisis. The King's Guard received a note from a reliable source. They are a connected network around the city. There are many people living here. So from a reliable source, they've been told that someone is going after the Forbidden Scroll and that they have a mole in their King's Guard. He explains to you that there is an old myth in Stalvin, which has been hidden for many years, and most people believe is completely myth and something that is just told to children to keep them entertained at bedtime. However, this must be based in truth since what has happened. He explains that recently, as in the last 3 days, they got called, the King's Guard specifically got called to a library where they found a librarian. He was dead in a back room of the library while holding a piece of paper and had seemingly been stabbed and murdered into the gut. It seems his last action had been to leave a note to pass on to people, and they had been struggling to decipher and what to do with next steps. The following day, they had then received a note to the King's Guard, explaining to them that there had been a mole and that there was something happening in Stalvin. Upon this,
Hold up.
they've
Hang on.
struggled.
I need you to jump back a sec. So Mercer is explaining that.
There's a crisis. A reliable source has told them that someone is going after the myth of the Forbidden Scroll, and that there's a mole in the King's
I'm
Guard.
too drunk to type properly. Hang on. Mercer explained that a reliable source.
I can copy paste this to you if you want.
I'd like to point out that I noticed that from like an hour and a half ago.
Kovu has been drinking the entire time. I made it clear. This is the best I
For
can
the sake
do.
of time, Josh, I can just I can copy and paste.
No.
this to
Just
you.
tell me. Just tell me. It's fine. Mercer explained that a reliable source has.
Contacted them to tell them that someone is going after the Forbidden Scroll, and there's a mole in the King's Guard.
Forbidden Scroll.
Mhm.
Forbidden Scroll, and they're within the
And
King's Guard.
there is a mole within the King's Guard. You do not know if the two are connected.
Oi, Taryn. Like,
No, shut up.
what do you mean? Why? Why would you not let me be character, man?
He's
Come
not.
Because
He's not
you
done
can be
talking.
character when he's done talking.
Mhm.
It's an old myth that the people of Stalvin believe to be very much a myth.
Oh, what has happened? Hang on. It's an old myth.
I don't know, but it'd be a
The
lot easier if I could just copy and paste
People
this to you.
of Stalvin believe to just be a myth. Yep.
That a powerful magic.
Oh shit. Hang on.
Can I please copy and paste this to you?
Powerful.
It's gonna take forever, Josh.
No, it's fine. A powerful
It's not.
magic.
It's like proper ruining it.
A powerful magic.
For fuck's sake. Was found a number of years ago, and they decided it was too dangerous, so it was
Josh,
locked away.
just
in
wait.
Stalvin.
Just let it be copied and pasted, man. What are you doing? Huh?
And it was decided to be too powerful and was sealed a number of years
times.
ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
There you
it.
go.
What's the problem?
I'm not done. That's the
Oh,
problem.
carry on.
Don't ask. Don't just.
2
don't
days
ask.
ago,
Mm-hmm.
the King's Guard were called to the Mage Library of the Marketplace. There was a Mage Library in the Marketplace. I don't know if it has a name, but
The
that's fine.
Library of Lianos.
There you go. That's the one. And there had been a murder the previous night of a librarian.
Oh shit, not the guy in the recent campaign then. Jesus, the King's records the Major Library of Lianos in the Marketplace, and the librarian was killed.
He had been stabbed in the gut and found with a note.
Yep.
Tell us about this note.
And at this point, he's going to ignore all of you.
Oh. I mean, it's mostly
And-
Anne's fault, but carry on.
He is going to pass the note to Evelyn. Which
She is
should
the
now
leader.
be in your journal.
Ah,
He's going to motion for you to come forward and read the note.
librarian's note. Okay.
You have to tell me if you can't see things because I'm just going
Yes,
off Josh's
it is
previous
that.
instructions. Cool.
I move and I like stand up next to her and I sort of.
Yeah,
peek
can
over
we
to-
see it? Who's Rakatak?
He has handed it to her openly, very much to her, but not in a way of no one else can read it, but I expect you this to be yours. So
I
if you
turn
guys wish to
around.
go forward and read it, etc., that's
Yeah.
completely up to you.
I turn around and I say, "They are coming. You must protect it. Find what's hidden to open our passage. May the White Lady guide you, for what you seek cannot be found."
Can I roll religion? Do I know?
You may roll religion.
Okay, hang on.
Do any of you specifically wish to think?
I'm proficient
and
in
remember
religion,
something.
so
Yes, you may.
I feel like if you're gonna roll based on what the White Lady is, you maybe need to be proficient in religion. 19.
Yes, but if someone, honestly, if you guys RP don't understand what the reference is, or what you think, if you don't think your character would understand what the reference is, please don't roll.
I very much know religion good.
Very much roll religion then.
I am good religion make, yes.
But basically, after like a couple of seconds of reading it and everything, I crouch down and start mumbling to myself.
He's
trying to
immediately going
decipher what the
into-
fuck's happening.
Terran mode.
Etin,
Bah.
what do you make of this letter? Are you clueless? Do you get the reference to White Lady, or do you not? Given your history and your back character story, do you think you understand what this letter refers to, or are you kind of just sort of waiting on the lead of the other guys?
Were we talking about me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, my religion is okay, but not enough for me to care
What's the
because
You don't,
plus
think,
on
you
the
don't
religion?
feel like Etin would
no,
understand what this is
I
referring
would
to?
not.
Are you
to that.
proficient?
I mean,
in
I didn't know.
religion?
I didn't know what bread was.
Evelyn, do you want to roll history?
Yeah,
in
sure.
your time
I
in
mean,
Dalton?
sweet bread.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you're particularly religious, but I do feel like, given your starving upbringing, you have a historic background here.
I know what bread is. I've just never seen people put sugar on it before. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
man. Get off
Taryn-
my back about religion.
Taryn's
man.
rereading the messages. Taryn's rereading the messages and mumbling, trying to get his head around it, trying to understand what it could possibly mean, sort of thinking in the background. Kovu, you recognise the term White Lady, you know what it might refer to.
Arella.
Etin, honestly, you have no clue. The White Lady, for all you know, is some pretty blonde that you might have seen around the corner at the bakery. She looks fine as, but you're not too quite sure why she has anything to do with why you're here. And Evelyn, honestly, you're just kind of worried about the fact that you're all in the middle of the barracks, and this seems a bit deeper than kind of what you were expecting. So you guys may discuss what you think of the letter, and Mercer is going to observe what he thinks.
So, do I know who the White Lady is from this role?
You are
I
aware
feel like
that the
I
White
would.
Lady is a common name for Arella. That is it.
Yeah,
if
but
you're
obviously
not,
with-
then I explain.
Yeah.
I'm quite familiar with the White Lady. I believe it to be a reference to Arella and the various life givers that are her followers, though I'm not certain as to what her involvement is to the task ahead of us.
Maybe there's
Evelyn, are
something
you-
more hidden within this note. Is there any way we could examine this note? And then I look at Kovu, with detect magic.
With detect magic. You look at me with detect magic.
Yeah, no, like as a hint, like Can we discern if there's anything hidden?
Are you showing the note to us?
Yes.
Okay, then as of right this second, the note should be showed to every player.
She has done that.
No, I've done that, and I hope she's
Oh.
okay with it, because I
Say that
did it
again?
on her computer.
What did you do?
I showed Lucy's note to everyone because she said that she wanted to
Yeah,
show
that's
it to everyone. It also looks like it's covered in blood. So
Yeah, the
as you
librarian.
show this to Kovu with obvious sort of understanding of what seems to be splattered across it, I just say, Evelyn, you're quite aware that this seems to be covered in some sort of sanguine nature of a human fellow.
Yes, this appears to be the librarian's blood. This note was found next to his body, so
He was stabbed. Doesn't surprise me much. I go back to my mumbling.
I look at Taran just like, strange outburst, but okay. Well, if that's to be believed, rather unfortunate nature to the librarian. I look back at Mercer and just say, does he fare well? Is he deceased, or are we perhaps to expect that he has passed beyond, as it were?
Who?
he did say that he was murdered. Was found dead.
Are you referring to the librarian?
Yes.
I'm afraid it is rather unfortunate that he seems to have passed from the wound. It seems he was attacked quite late at night. He was given the duty of locking up the library as they rotate shifts, and he was found the next morning in a very much dire state with his note on person, and we have been unable to recover him.
Admittedly, I am not entirely familiar with Starvin and its various goings on, but am I right to believe that perhaps this library is the main library in Starvin?
Honestly, we are unsure how the librarian connects to the story. All we are aware of is that we received this anonymous note from someone who we are trustworthy of, that there is a mole in the guard, and that the myth is not so much myth. I do not wish this to get out, and we have not been able to investigate as we normally would, given how serious the allegations are of a mole, and that is something we need to concentrate on for all purposes of safety of Stalvin. So this is why we have been required to resource external people, as yourselves, sort of look at you with an ever so slight distaste, because there's very much a we're Stalvin and we should be dealing with this shit ourselves. And then when this happened, and we've been given this strange message, we have obviously spoken to the librarians, and we have been to the library, and they have not been able to shed much light. So all we have been left with this note, and the only thing we can make sense of is the reference to the White Lady. I was hoping that you may be able to continue this investigation further on our behalf while we continue investigations within our own guard. You may now perhaps perceive why I have been so cautious about spreading this information to
Well,
people other than myself.
certainly it seems that perhaps some sort of object is to be protected in some nature, and as Taran, our friend here, and I sort of motion to him as he unintelligibly spouts gibberish. I like kind of gesture to him as like, as he perhaps suggests that maybe this passage is simply an actual corridor of sorts rather than simply a passage in a book. There could be an exact direction here, an address, if you will. I'm not quite sure, and I look at Etin and then immediately turn to Evelyn, because looking at Etin is a stupid idea. And and I look at Evelyn and I'm just like, I'm not entirely sure what might be sought that can otherwise not be found. Certainly, if the job here is to...
I would it has been with us a number of days now, and I have my very trusted close sources had a look at this, and from what we can gather, the most foremost important thing would be the reference to the White Lady. We appreciate that there must be something hidden, and there are people coming for something that we are meant to protect, of which I cannot discuss further.
I don't wish to interrupt you in any fashion, Mercer, but perhaps is there some sort of effigy of the White Lady, or rather, as she's better known, that perhaps you would be able to bait us information to, or perhaps a location or something like that? My understanding of the
Do
city.
you want to roll investigation? I feel like
Sure.
it's not so much a persuasion. You're not trying to get him to give you information. You're trying to find out something you're specifically looking for.
16.
Okay. So upon that, he's going to sort of go. He's going to sort of look down at the floor and be like, "It has not been oblivious to us that this may specifically reference a reference of the goddess of Arella. We are, as you may well be," and he's going to specifically look at Evelyn at this point and say that we have a temple of Arella in our marketplace.
Yes,
We have attempted to go to the temple, for which we have been long-standing comrades and had a long-standing relationship with. However, recently there has been an issue that has prevented us from gaining access to this temple. And given the note that we've received regarding a potential mole, which may I add we do not know if is true, within our Kingsguard, we have only not had much room to pursue. I would suggest that maybe the Temple of Rella would be the first place you may investigate. We have not been able to gain access due to recent falling outs. But maybe you, as travellers, can gain some further insight.
You
Yeah,
have perhaps an issue with the Temple of Varela here in Stalburn?
Do you want to roll insight?
Certainly.
Oh,
When the
Jesus.
character becomes a part of you.
Certainly. Love that.
Certain. Of course.
Oh god, it's not a 0 plus 4.
What?
Hang on.
Oh
You
my
rolled
Oh, I
a
rolled it
D0?
again.
What's that all about?
Now it's
You
2d0.
zeros.
There you go. Oh, I rolled a
That
6.
is
It's the
just-
same. It's basically the same.
Stop drinking. You
Honestly,
drunk.
you have no clue what he's on about. You know he's being cryptic. You know summits.
I've
not
been
quite right.
sipping into my
Yeah.
shawl the
You
entire
know
time.
in your ever so slightly tipsy slate that there is something he's not alluding to, but honestly, you have no clue what. So
I'm not
all you
entirely
know,
certain as to your accusations, Mercer, but if you're aware of an exact location as to the situation of the White Lady and the Life Giver and whatever other name she may go by in this city, it behooves you to perhaps lead us to her location.
he's going to look at you, Evelyn, and say, I believe you have a history and you have grown up in this city. You will have respect for it more than these fellows.
I take
You are
offense.
aware of where he doesn't care.
Neither
Temple
do
of
I.
Rella lays in the market square. I'm gonna look at you.
yes, I know of this temple and I have visited there briefly before.
Very
Uh,
well.
We can definitely go there and we will do our utmost to
I must explain to you
find this message.
that this situation is dire and it has been going on for a number of days, and
Oh,
we would normally act upon these things.
God.
He's gonna
Long.
glare at Essen and continue and ignore him. And
I
say,
look at Essen as
Oh.
he says this, and I'm just like, yes, God, I appreciate this. This is going on for a while, but shut up for a moment.
normally what we would do in this situation is we would deal with it ourselves, but given what I've explained to you about the information we have received, that has not been possible. I'm very much aware that this may be to your amusement, but Stalvin could be in a serious situation.
Well,
let's
get on with it then.
Well, I suggest you listen to the information before you get on with it then.
Well, it's been quite a while we've been talking about this. Sorry.
I'm terribly
Leave
sorry.
then!
Good fellow. I don't wish to interrupt your description, but we have a number amongst our members.
No, very
who,
much. I'm done with you. You seem to know what you do, and he's going to go to Evelyn and go, I suggest you go to the Temple of Varela and see what you can find. I'm done with you. You have wished out my patience.
It seems like perhaps that is the best means of
and
progression.
he's going to click his fingers and
And then half of us will
I
within
want
about
to
10
thank
seconds,
you.
the door is going to open and the guards with the shields is going to come back in and very much motion for you to leave.
I want to just bow and say thank you very much for your time. We'll return to you shortly when we've
He's going to
figured
look
out.
back over his shoulder and say, do not return without something useful.
Can I want to look at one of the guards and mage hand.
There is only one guard. It is the guard who is on the right-hand side at the front with a shield, who led you into this place and then got essentially shooed outside to stand out guard while you spoke to Mercer. He has now been summoned back in to escort you out.
As I
And then you have
turn to this guard and we are about to leave, I say to him, I hate trousers. Aren't they incredibly itchy? Don't you wish to just take them off as soon as possible? And I cast suggestion on him.
He's going to look at you and go, why yes, they're uncomfortable.
Oh no.
But you must leave! And then he is going to stride off towards the back exit while
Did he
very much looking
succeed?
back at you. Carry on.
Did
Did he
he
succeed?
succeed?
It's none of your
Did he
business. Carry
succeed?
on walking down the hallway. Are you following him? I assume you're following him.
No, we're walking past him, but does he take his trousers
He's,
off
he's leading
in
the
the
way.
background?
No. He's leading the way. Are you
I'm
following?
following normally.
If it's
as-
not apparent that
Can you
he's...
stop asking questions and just answer my questions? Are you following him?
If he's leading the way out, then yeah, we're definitely following him.
Okay, cool. So you go around the corner, you go down the hallway, he goes up 2 flights of stairs. It's one flight of stairs, but you know, like where you go up like half a flight and then back a flight to sort of go back up on yourself?
The
So he
only
goes to the top
reason
of
I
stairs,
ask...
And as you
Go on.
And as you come to the top of the stairs, you find him at the top of the stairs taking his trousers off.
Yay!
Take him off.
And as Taran approaches the stairs first, in his awesome wonderment of this entire experience and sees him taking his trousers off, he picks up his trousers and throws him over to the shoulder and says, "Very well, out the way you came," and carries on striding off through the corridor, straight forwards, and leading the way in his undergarment.
As he does, I would like to...
Take him off.
As Etin chants this in the background, I just look at him and say, "You've done quite the excellent job." And I turn away from him and walk away.
Do you guys all follow him outside?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm confused with all the talking and the laughing. Are you all leaving?
Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
leaving.
Okay,
I'm
so
just
he's going
mumbling,
to
sort of sticking with Evelyn.
he's going to blissfully open the door. So you gotta remember, at the front there's 2 guards slightly off to the side. There's the 2 guards in front of the door. He went inside, which leaves the guy with another shield in front of the left-hand door, which you didn't go in. He's opened the door. He's holding the door and says, "Very well, do not return without what Mercer requires," extremely sternly. Very unhappy that he has been dismissed. Almost sidelined, but accepting his place.
Is this the same
Lets
guy
you
that isn't
leave-
wearing trousers, just to confirm?
Confirming. You guys leave out of the hallway. He stands in as you guys exit through the door, he stands in front of his doorway, resumes his original position by the corner of the door where the hinges are, because they both open inwards through the middle. The other guards do take note. And he slams the door and says, "Come back when you have something of use," and then holds up his shield in front of him and holds back to his sword and resumes position. While the other
I
3
whisper.
look at him strangely, but decides it's probably better to not say anything.
I whisper, without the intention at all of them hearing. Come back when you know how to wear some pants. And walk away.
The guy on the very far left, who was actually eating a sandwich, slightly snickers into his bread while carrying on and trying to disguise it.
As
with
I
his lunch.
turn, I like raise my arm up for Ali to land on me once more, and she lands on my shoulder, and we walk out. As we walk out.
Um,
And I
and you leave.
awkwardly give Kovu a high five because I thought that's what he was doing.
I like as he goes for the high five, I bring my arm back down because Ali lands on my shoulder, and then realizing that he meant a high five, I raise my arm up, but it's too late, so we just sort of awkwardly don't high five at all.
Both roll a dexterity saving throw.
Hey!
Oh shit, my dexterity is terrible.
Saving throw.
Mine's not bad considering my
Mine is
strength.
terrible.
My strength is awful.
Mine is a
My
base
dexterity-
20.
Oh, that's
It's a
not good.
base
Hang on.
20.
Hang on. I can save us
Come on.
here. Oh, saving throw, you said.
Dex saving
Bam!
throw, please.
Oh, wait, no, hang on. Bam! Hey!
So Evan is like full on throwing his arm, like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and then slaps Kovu like full on his shoulder, which throws Kovu back, but like he's so like perfect in the air, but unfortunately
Dislocates.
he's been knocked about full on 90 degrees, so he's like high fiving to the right where like no one is. But if he'd have been forward, it'd have been perfect. So he's just got perfect aim, but Etton's pushed him like slapped his shoulder and knocked him.
I'm kind of used to it a little bit.
It's
I'm
kind of out
like-
of sync, and Kovu takes it in his stride. Like,
He like
yeah,
properly
that's
twats me
a
out of
high five.
position, but I'm just sort of
Yeah,
like, oof.
yeah.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
like,
no, like
that's our high five, so it's fine. Yeah,
Dude's
exactly.
he's a big guy. I get it. It's fine. He's a big guy.
Yeah. And you
Right.
are out.
When we have walked
Do
down
that.
the street,
You're
'Cause
walking
I
down the
want-
street. This is a good.
Yes,
This is a good move.
because obviously I know the way to the temple. I
Very
want
good.
to
Yes. So
kind of
you're
turn
leading the
around.
way straight through the temple.
And we're
to the-
just an
Turn around.
embarrassment to you.
say group meeting, just group meeting, and we're just kind of huddled together. And I just want to tell them, when we go to this temple, you must be respectful. There are people there that are sick. It's a very sacred place. They will not take to jokes and messing about.
Could you please, Avelyn, could you please roll persuasion for me with advantage?
You know what?
I genuinely
Stop
burped to
talking
the
for a
side.
moment. Can you please roll persuasion with advantage, given you know your history and you know the
Yeah.
people of this place, and you're trying to, with everything you can, explain to these people how important this is. You roll
19.
19. All three of you look at her in this motherly nature and think, you know what? Through all we've been through, this is one of those times where she's not just being a mother, like make sure you eat your chicken. She's telling you, like, please, for me, can you try your very best to do what I'm asking for you? And you guys take that all on board.
I look at Etton's incredibly close up, and I look back at Avelyn just like again the sort of standard oop, and I look at her like
I'm not gonna cause any trouble. If
Okay.
anyone
Avelyn, could you also roll intimidation
is totally Kovu who's
with advantage? Because at this point, they've been winding you up for a good solid 5 hours.
and Evelyn. I mean, Evelyn.
You're getting really ticked off. You know when you're like, I need my kids to go to bed, and you're like, I need...
hey.
Oh, that's 20! Woo! At this point, Ettin,
Say what you want.
honestly,
Say what you want.
stop talking. This is the first time you've ever felt like you've had a mother tell you off. You shrink in your boots, you feel like a gnome. You're going to do what she says for fear of the wrath.
He felt like a gnome anyway.
Kovu, you feel like you're 18 again, in actual human years.
Been a while.
She has told you you are going to pay respects, and you are going to be honourable and not your normal shitty self, and you are going to listen. Taryn, you are utterly in awe. This woman has led you guys, she's looked after you, she's cooked for you, she's stitched your clothes when you ripped them through stupid mistakes, and she's taking you to a place where you feel like you need to respect, and you, from a knowledge and book point of view, feel like that is the least you can do to at least pay respects to this place that she holds not necessarily dear, but holds respect for. And you guys make your way towards the Temple of Varela, which Avalon leads you to. You may stop off if you want. There will be shops and little pieces on the way if there's anything you specifically want to. For the sake of expediency and time, if there's nothing you want to buy, let me know and we'll skip straight to it. If there's something you want to stop and buy it. In short.
I think I'm good.
I don't want to spend like 2 hours you guys buying a host potion. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, like, are we hitting up shops? Are we properly hitting up
You
shops
are
on the
walking
way?
from the edge of the Royal District all the way through to the marketplace, which you've already been in, all the way to the Urela's temple. You are aware
this
that this
is
dire
like-
situation.
This is like Lux Book Stalvin Marketplace
Mhm,
when
mhm.
it's fully in flow.
So you've walked all the way to the Royal District, which is taking you a couple of hours. It was first thing in the morning, and now you're walking back. So we're talking like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Things are thrumming. People are busy. Everyone's running around. Like, we're talking the busiest time in the market.
So,
But you are
like,
on a mission to get to this place you need to. But you
discerning
need to stop.
merchant's guide with our remaining gold, yeah?
Honestly, yes. If you feel like you are going to do something important, and if you need to grab something before that, this is the time to do it.
Okay, so
Because
to make it clear,
Avalon is on a mission, and you may not get a chance to slow her down.
for everyone that has spent the discerning merchant's guide money, which should be basically all of us, you then start the game, if I'm not wrong, Sevvi, as the DM, with 200 gold.
Mhm.
So we are now passing
We have-
merchants
We
that
we
have
have 200 gold.
Yeah, so if you spend
Whatever you have left over from your 2,000 GP that I gave you, you have plus 200 GP. So if you want to stop, and I don't, not through not the lack of RP, but just because it's a one shot, and I don't want to
Yeah.
waste loads of time go through RP. If you want to stop on the way to the Temple of Varela to buy potions or to buy rations or anything like that, just hit me up in the messages and let me know what your GP is and spend it. That's
So, like,
fine.
I spent
Nope.
$2,000 previous to creating my character as per the arrangement, but my background gave me 10 gold, and then Sevvi gave us all 200. But I
Yeah,
spent
sweet.
1 gold this session, so I have 209 gold to spend on whatever I see fit, and
No,
that
no,
is the
You
yeah.
guys
same way that
keep
it
that
works
money.
for
You
guys.
guys can, on the way to Temple of Varela, pop into a quick shop, pick up a couple of potions.
No.
You guys all have access to the discerning merchant's guide.
Yeah.
We've
If
had
you want
our
to buy
time.
potions, like healing potions, basic
I mean-
potions, then I'm
I
fine
mean,
with that.
no, that's cool. I mean, I don't speak for
Just don't
everyone
take the
else,
piss.
but I think we've had our time to spend our money, and I think we'll have another chance at some point.
Potentially, but you have been made.
This is
aware-
it. This is
To-
it. That's what she's
Yeah, no,
saying.
I
don't
This
care.
is your
I
buy time.
I don't wanna spend my money because
Stop
Then
talking.
don't-
That's absolutely fine. You've been made aware that this is an important situation. They've already been waiting 2 or 3 days. You need to go do this thing. So honestly, you're walking to a place. If you're walking past a shop, this is your time where you feel like I might need to stop. If you don't feel like you need to stop, that's fine. Keep going.
okay,
This
fine.
is your
Dude.
buy time.
How much was it for greater potions again? Sorry.
Greater potions of healing cost. Oh, don't make me move in my chair.
Just look up your discerning merchant's guide and tell
Common,
me.
uncommon.
when.
I've got it up. Common is 50 gold pieces. Uncommon is 300 gold pieces.
Yeah, so greater
What?
greater is the
Yeah.
second tier of potions. So an uncommon is 300. 300
Yeah.
gold will buy you a 44 plus 4 potion of healing. But you only have 200 gold on top of whatever you had when
If
you
you spent
entered
2
this one
grand,
shot.
you've got 200 gold. If you spent 1,500, you got
Yeah,
1,700.
so I
Very
spent
simple
2
math.
grand. So I have 200 gold. Plus the
Yeah.
10 gold I got from my background.
Keep it.
But
Spend it on a
spent
shitty
a gold on
potion.
that.
Spend it on rations. Spend it on
just gonna-
playing cards. Spend it on. I don't give a shit what you do.
That's
Honestly,
fine. I'm not gonna.
I might
I'm
get
not
the
gonna
rape
spend it. I'm not gonna
potion
spend
that,
it.
that
I was
No,
thinking that as well.
no rape
I might get that rape.
I'm,
Like,
I'm not gonna kid anyone. I might get that rape potion. That's all I'm saying.
for the sake of time, let's
What
just
is
say RP wise, you stop by any shops that you think you might need to on the way. You grab anything you think you might need to. That's not completely unusual, like potions of healing.
For
and
those
stuff
of you that
generic
aren't
stuff, absolutely
familiar,
fine.
To 5e Dungeons and Dragons, rape potion refers to the filter of love or the
Thank you.
perfume.
No,
of
no,
your
no,
choice.
No,
No.
anyway, guys. God. Anyway, cut out all that crap. You guys buy the shit you want to, unless it's completely unusual. In
Okay,
which case,
well, we'll
okay
do
with
that
me at the end.
between now and next session.
Yeah, and then just to, I trust you guys to not completely rip me off and buy an £1,800 potion.
Well, we'll
for
put it
200
through
gold.
you. We'll put it through you between now and the next session.
Yeah, that's
Well,
fine. I trust you. So at this point, you guys have done your shopping or not, depending on whatever, and you have arrived at the front door of the Temple of Rella, led by Evelyn, who is very much going, "We are here."
Yeah. Can I just say, fucking well done.
wait,
to
wait,
Sevvi.
is that it?
That's
Wait,
the
wait.
end of the session.
Is that the end? Is that the
Fucking
end of the
well
session?
done.
Oh,
Well
done.
played. That is some hardcore DMing.
That's not
done.
That's not
You don't
done.
want to stop?
No, I'm not done.
Oh, let's carry on.
What are you doing?
That sounds
I mean, I
ridiculous.
thought
What
that
do
was
you
the end.
mean?
We started at 7, it's 10.
No, we didn't start at 7. We started at 20 to 8.
Okay, carry on. I take it back.
I mean, if you
Hang on.
take it back, if you guys want to stop, we can stop.
No,
That's
no,
fine.
no,
But
no,
I
no,
assume
no,
we
no,
were
no,
going on until
no,
like
no, no,
half
no,
past
no,
ish.
no. We keep going.
Day off tomorrow. Let's go.
I'm
Let's
happy.
keep going. Let's keep going. This
Okay,
is
well,
fucking fun. Like, let's
this
keep
is
going.
this is the most tipsy I've been in like 6 months. So
Fabulous.
You guys
Let's
can
keep
tell
it
me when you
going.
wanna stop.
I
Let's keep going,
apologise
then. Let's
for
keep
the
going. Let's keep
for
going.
the 3 viewers that we have.
Out of character. Josh and Max, shut up. God.
That's fair.
Lucy and Ulrich, you guys tell me when you're ready to
Josh,
like cut off
Josh,
because
you listen.
like
Don't you
you
pen
guys
me,
are like,
bitch.
these two will go on till 2 a.m.
Shut the fuck
Yeah, we
up,
fucking will.
Josh. Yeah?
You-
You listen to me? You fucking listen to me,
Don't you
fucking
pen me, you
shut up,
motherfucker.
fucking
I will
shut
pen
up.
you, you
doing?
bitch.
I was planning to go till 10:30, quarter to 11ish because that gave us the 3 hours. If you guys want to go for longer or shorter, just let me know. Okay.
Okay.
I'm cool with
That-
going longer because both of us have a day off tomorrow.
Hey!
Well, I think you'll
Right.
find that
Oh,
I'm
let's
pouring myself in
So, I have a good close. I don't know if we'll get there, so let's just roll with it.
Let's
and, like,
fucking carry on. I am open to it. On the downside, I'm sorry,
Let's
stream.
go.
I may have to minimize the Skype so that I can reopen the fucking PDFs that I need to get to my character sheets. Oh, they're not there. They're not there. Don't worry about it. Carry on.
You're
If
welcome.
any of you guys need to stop, let me know because I'm just gonna keep rolling with it until so. Honestly, if you guys wanted to message me rather than say it on actual stream, then that's absolutely fine. And I can just summarize. It's not a problem. You guys arrive at the Temple of Arella, led by Evelyn, who is very much like, okay, guys, we've done all your stupid shopping. This is it. Look at the temple. It's all white. You see that beautiful woman standing up there with her flowing cloak and her long, beautiful hair.
That's
That
Callum,
is
by the way. I
Arella.
burp in the distance.
Yeah, shut up. And and that is where you are. You are standing in front of the temple. Evelyn, I feel like at this point, I'm really sorry if I'm saying your name wrong.
You say
Evelyn,
something.
Evelyn?
You
No,
say something about a
Evelyn, it's
beautiful
Evelyn.
woman.
Evelyn,
saying
you're
it
saying
right?
it right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
so
saying it
Evelyn
wrong
the
at
whole
the
time,
start, but
Evelyn.
you're saying it right now.
Evelyn.
Evelyn, I would expect you at this point to take the lead as you have arrived at the temple and you are introducing to them where they have arrived.
Yes, I walk in and immediately I drop like 10 gold into the donation like pot.
Nice. Carry on.
Okay,
And
well-
gold. Fucking hell, man. What are you getting? You boy.
10 gold.
I did put that there, innit?
Apparently, we're
Yeah, you
high
did.
fucking
Also,
flyers.
keep it character, people.
Yeah, no, you don't know Onamis. You've never heard of that. So,
15
matching.
years in the past, remember, Max?
Yeah, that hasn't happened for 15 years. Matching Evelyn's gold contribution, I see it and I'm like, holy shit. So I put in 9 gold, because that's all I can afford for the amount that I'm going to spend later.
Karen?
Oh.
Stop. Taran and Etin, if you haven't specifically gone into this temple with the intention of leaving gold, roll perception.
Okay.
I don't know if
Because-
Evelyn does, but I have an affinity
Bear
for
with
the
me, bear with
gods.
me. Evelyn has lived in this city for a long time where there are many temples and she knows the protocols and how these things work. Kovu is very learned and has been here
I
time and has been here and
also
also knows the protocols. You
I
two are slightly different in that you have not been in a city on such a larger scale. Etin, you do notice that they've left money in a pot. You think it may be to do with something with the gods, but you're not quite sure whether it's your place or whether it's not. Whether you decide to ask someone for advice or just leave coin, that's completely up to you. Taryn, you.
Okay.
am
Can
I-
I
You're
do?
aware of the tradition. You understand what's happening in a temple. That it's a gift and it's something that you want to leave behind. What you do is completely up to you, but you understand what's happening.
I'm still kind of mumbling a bit because even though I sort of cheerily hopped around and bought a few potions and things, I went back to my mumbling and everything.
Yeah.
In fact, I
At this
imagine I've
point,
been
you've walked into temple. You've
Yeah.
seen Evelyn specifically go over to a dish and put 10 gold in it. You've then seen Kovu go over and leave 9 gold in it. You're very aware of the tradition of when you go into a temple that you are there to respect, and whether you believe or not, pay respects and understand what people are here for and understand what the god has meaning of, and whether you specifically believe in that specific god or not, you understand what it means. And
Yeah.
so you are fully aware of what's happening. Whether you choose to leave gold based on that or not is completely up to you, but you know what the intention is behind what they're doing.
Yeah.
Etin, you're kind of confused. You see them throwing money in a pot. You're not quite sure. You might ask someone, you might just chuck some money in a pot. Nah, it's completely up to you.
Okay.
Basically, my idea
I'll-
is just I'm mumbling, walking past, I see it. I'm not that bothered too much about, like, I don't necessarily believe that much about paying tributes and stuff, but I just sort of flick a gold piece in there anyway. Because I'm like, whatever.
Evelyn, could you roll investigation? No, could you roll perception for me? Etin, what are you doing?
I'd like to put a
18.
put a piece of bread in there because I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Nice.
So
That's fine.
I'm gonna put. I'm gonna put a loaf of bread in there.
Evelyn, you're gonna pull Taran aside. You've spent enough time with him now to know that he gets in this sort of he's young, he's inquisitive.
He gets in this hizzy.
He's so engaged in what he's doing. He's thinking about spells. He's thinking about magic. He's thinking about cities. He's all these new experiences. You can see almost your youngest. You can relate to the awe and the wonder of the world in the smallest of things. You can see what he's doing, but you feel like you have this need to explain to him, even if he doesn't want to explain to him what's happening and why you and Kovu have left the money and what it means. And you pull him aside and just explain what's happening and what it means and what Arella represents, and just sort of say, look, this is why we've done it. You don't have to leave more, but this is what's happened. Etin, you're completely confused. Everyone's obviously giving something to this goddess. You've kind of heard of Arella, something about life, So she's good. You got the vibe. She's good. So as far as you're concerned, food is good. You left us some food. That's great. Like, you can't live without food, so you left us some bread. That's all good. Could you roll dexterity, please, for me? So dexterity saving throw specifically.
Who? I
You,
mean, who?
Etin.
Me.
You bitch.
Dexterity. Yeah.
Kovu, what are you doing while you walk into the temple and you've left your money?
Well, I've
Evelyn,
left
Evelyn,
9
you're talking
gold.
to Taran.
Yeah,
about what's
I've left
happening
9
here.
gold in the contribution pot.
Dexterity.
And
Dexterity saving throw, yes, please.
as I head in, I'm quietly whispering to Etin, saying,
Yep.
Excuse me, but if we're heading aside, a donation is somewhat customary. And as I carry on, I'm looking about the various staff inside the church, the temple, and I'm looking for somebody that can be addressed, essentially.
Could
Are
you
you talking to
all
me,
at
sorry?
this point, correct me if I'm wrong, if this is not your intention, please tell me, but given that you have all come here off the back of your meeting with Mercer and your note, could you please all roll an investigation as you were looking out for something that may relate to the note or something you are specifically looking for? Investigation, please.
Sorry, investigation if what?
So you're either looking for something that specifically relates to the note or something that specifically relates to something Mercer has said.
Let me have a relook at the note, because I don't know that I know enough about Mercer. Mercer was saying that
So either something he said in your conversation in the room, or something that has been written on the note you
he
got
mentioned
from...
about the White Lady, and we're in the fucking Temple of the White Lady. So
Mhm.
what are you saying to roll?
So investigation. You're looking for something specific. You're not too sure what,
like
but
the
you
Pacific
feel like
Ocean.
you feel like you're in this temple for a specific reason, and you're trying to find it.
14. Investigation, yeah. Sorry, that's an 18.
Oh, you get +8.
Yeah, I get +8, not a +4.
Cool.
I'm very
Essen, Essen, did you write?
investigative.
Is that your 18? Is that yours as well?
He hasn't rolled.
Yeah,
No, yeah.
I
The
did.
18 up there, the
18.
D20.
18 was mine.
Avelyn?
Both me and Etin are looking at each other like,
Okay.
no, you have to contribute to the takings of the church, and he's looking at me like, I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
thought
Nice.
bread was enough.
Avelyn,
Fully cut off.
Like-
And I'm
like-
like,
you
yes, I
are-
appreciate that bread is
Alright.
not a currency here, but if you're going to contribute in some fashion, the church has bread, and perhaps some bronze or silver would be well appreciated.
No,
And,
but do they have some of this sweet bread?
yes, I'm very aware
I
that
can't understand anything you're writing, by the way, Lucy. I don't know. Separate to all that, let's have a conversation. Avelyn, it's been nearly 2 years since you visited this temple, and as much as you thought, you know what, I'm this strong woman, I've got 2 kids, I feel like I'm looking after these 3 people,
Yeah.
and you know what, I'm here, but you walk into this temple flooded with light and care and warmth, and there's just there's this feeling in this temple of pure peace. There's incense flowing. You can feel the sense of lavender flowing through the air, and it's sunny outside, which is glowing through the walls. You can see the sunlight shining from windows onto the temple of Varela, specifically herself, and you just feel for a good few minutes like you're home. You love your children, you miss your husband, but being in this place reminds you of everything that you've ever lived for. You love this city, you love your children, you loved your husband, and there's something beautiful about this place that just lets you reconnect, and you're fully engrossed mentally and physically about this feeling you've got about paying tribute to this goddess and enjoying the moment you're in, whether it's for 10 seconds or 10 minutes. You just want to be in the moment. Kovu and Etin, you're having a whisper conversation. Kovu, sorry, Tovu, I merged you there.
I'm tofu, yeah, I'm marshmallowy glue.
You're having a conversation with Etin, explaining to him about the tradition of Stalvern, and sort of giving a really quick brief down. Like, there's a few different you've had discussions in the past when you've talked about giants and you've talked about goddesses, and you know this isn't a brand new subject for you, but this is the first time you've sort of delved into it. And you explain this is Arella, and she's the goddess of life, and she's quite important in that she's the only one that sort of encompasses, you know, everything whole. And Etin, you're completely confounded with this whole new knowledge of, wow, this is a new place to be, and you notice, both of you notice as you're talking about it and looking around, like Kovu, you speak about these things, you've read about these things, but you've probably not seen it much, you've probably not paid attention, and Etin, you're just completely gobsmacked by everything that's happening. Yes, we're drinking it. And you both really pay attention to the fact that, you know what, there's people leaving who feel better, and there seems to be people that are coming in that feel like they have a weight on their shoulders, and they need time to spend, and you really get this sense that where people come to relieve what they're feeling, to speak to people, to be at one with themselves, and just find a place for themselves. You really get that sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Karen, you've
place.
been exceptionally paying attention to the people in this place. You are so intrigued by what's happening, the intricacies. It's not so much about the feeling of this place and the vibe. It's about what are people doing, who works here, who's a visitor, who's brand new, just walked in with us. And you notice this strange little dwarf who seems quite timid in the back right corner of the temple, just behind the statue of Rella, who seems to be swooping. And you notice that of all the people who are coming up and praying and leaving donations, or people who are walking around and shuffling in tabards, he seems to be a little out of place. And as you sort of focus on him and think he's a bit strange, you notice that he's got quite a long scar just across his neck, which seems quite red, and he looks quite timid.
Heavily staring at this man, just mumbling.
Okay.
That's all I do.
Can I see Taran
Bear with
doing
me.
this.
What do no, you are fully engrossed with conversation with Etten at this point. Taran, what
Okay.
do you do? Noticing this guy, he looks quite awkward, a little bit jumpy, and you can tell through your experience and through conversations you have with Kovu and Etten, conversations with Battle and all sorts of things, you can tell that this isn't like an old scar that's, you know, like a silver lining. This is fresh. Something's happened here, and for some reason you feel really pulled towards this dwarf. What would you like to do?
The same thing as I said, I'll be like heavily staring toward the scar and mumbling, but I'll just sort of stop in my tracks. Like everyone's sort of moving past me, or they can stop if they want, but like I just sort of keep staring and then slightly just adjust my body and start walking towards him, still
Okay.
mumbling, but heavily staring.
As you walk towards him, the other, I feel like Evelyn, correct me if I'm wrong if you feel like this is completely out of character, but based on your roles, this is what I envision. Evelyn, you're sort of more approaching the statue of Rella, sort of having a peace with your moment with yourself, just to take the time and sort of say what you're thinking and, you know, be it one. Kovu and Etin, you're sort of taking in the wonder of the temple and explaining what's happening and, you know, enjoying the presence you're around and the feeling of the place, and you're just Taran, you're really engrossed in what's happening with this dwarf. He looks really out of place, like not like a sore thumb, but there's definitely something off about him, and you approach him and it's almost like the closer you get, the more jumpy he gets. And he definitely makes eye contact with you and sort of looks to the floor and looks back at you, looks to the floor, looks back at you, and then as you get closer, within about 20 feet of him, he stops sweeping and just sort of he awkwardly stares at you, sort of not wanting to talk to you, but appreciates that you're definitely coming towards him.
Anyone
What
else
do you
doing
do?
anything?
I want to specifically look for like kind of one of the attendants of the temple,
Me
like
and
someone that
Essen are definitely doing
someone-
weird shit, but we want to let you guys go first.
Evelyn, you're specifically looking for people that like work or are at the temple, not as
Yeah.
okay. So roll investigation for me. That's fine. These two seem to still be doing their own thing. We'll come to them back in a minute. And what do you want to do, Tara?
Yeah, I'll head up towards this
He's
guy and
very
just
much noticed you at this point.
Just let us
So he's
know
a
when
little
we're
bit
back
awkward,
in.
and he stopped sweeping in his awkward little position. You feel like he's thinking, "Oh God, he's going to come over," or maybe if I stop, he'll stop looking at me.
I'm just still walking up, like mumbling and everything. I've got that kind of like, you know, where you like twiddle your thumbs and stuff, poking your fingers together and everything. Just like so, that scar. That's
Okay.
proof. You
You
doing?
walk
You
up to him,
yeah.
and what do you say? He's very much going to look at you sheepishly, but not going to initiate contact.
Yeah, it's just like so.
Rolled a 6 for no reason. What?
You're an experienced warrior or something, you know, like nice. You look a bit jumpy.
I just I wouldn't say I'm a warrior. No, just minding my own business. And he's going to sort of shiftily look around left and right, and sort of be like, "You looking for someone?" He's sort of going to like
Where
fumble
was
with his broom, like the top of it, and you're kind of like you're not really doing anything with it, but like you sort of lifting your hands above each other, like you're not too sure what he's doing.
where is this scar?
So he's got a straight scar from like the side of his neck right round through to the front, almost like a crescent moon
Oh
shape.
shit.
And you can almost feel like he's holding this broom. He's got short hair with like some side drapes around the back. It's almost like he always wants to hold the stick of the broom in front of his scar. Like he's not obviously doing it, but you feel like impulsively he's trying to distract from it.
Yeah, I'm like very heavily just staring at the scar, like not looking in his eyes at all or anything. I'm just like, so anything interesting happened in your life lately?
Sorry, I know I'm interjecting in an element that I am otherwise not involved in, but just to confirm, this is happening within the Temple of Varela.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are currently talking to Etin about.
I'm talking to Ed
normal
about
procedure.
bullshit. This is Taran and Evelyn talking to this
No,
dude.
no. Evelyn's not involved. Evelyn's at the front of the statue of
Evelyn.
Varelu. Evelyn, sorry, praying and thinking about her thing. You are explaining to Etin about what the procedure is in the middle of Starvin and how temples work and what people are doing while they're leaving money. And Taran has clocked on to this dwarf in the corner and has gone straight towards him to ask like what's wrong, because he's noticed this goring red mark across his neck.
So this is a fellow dwarf practitioner. He is nothing to do with the.
All you know is that he's in the corner behind the statue of Arella. So he's in sort of like more of a discreet place. He's not standing
Yeah.
in the middle of the temple. He's behind it, and
How
he's
far
been
am I
sweeping.
from
I'd say
Taran
you're
at
about
this point?
about 50, 60 feet from him.
So
Because
within...
you've been sticking with Etin, and Etin's very much like,
Yeah, Etin's a
what's
moron, so I'm
happening?
trying
And
to...
you're trying to explain to him what's
determine-
happening.
Yeah.
Avelin's kind of completely ignored you. She's gone straight up to the middle of the statue where everyone's laying gatherings and left fruit and stuff. And you know what? She's really grasped the fact that she's left Starvin. She's come back. This is her moment. Taran's just completely absorbed into the entire world and has noticed thing and has just completely beelined for it.
But our intention is to find out what's happening with the White Lady.
Oh,
and-
completely. But at the moment, this is the first like 30 seconds, minute that you've walked into the temple, and this is what you're all currently doing and what your main focus is.
Okay.
So Taran, what do you say to the dwarf? If you say anything, you may not.
Well, I want to look at his face and everything. Does he seem like a victim more than anything? That's what I want to know.
Roll insight for me.
Yep.
Let me know if you guys are doing something. Like you three, let me know if you're doing something specific or if you just carry on doing.
I mean,
No, it's
like,
fine.
honestly, given
Taran, nice.
Taran's disposition as to my relationship with him, I feel like I would have recognized the fact that Etin is being a moron and Taran is making progress, and as a result, like,
Beeline for
shifted
it.
towards Taran.
That's a bit harsh. That's a bit harsh.
I
about-
feel like
I'm
you
a
two
moron.
could you,
Yeah?
Kovu, could you roll?
I'm
I am-
not familiar with
Etin.
Kovu,
this
could you
world.
roll perception
Etin.
with advantage because
I am
you're kind of.
terribly sorry. I do not consider you a moron. However, in this situation, you're being a moron.
Kovu, could you please
As am
roll
I.
perception? Kovu, hello. Could you please roll perception with
DM.
advantage, given that you're looking for what's going on, but at the same time you're trying to monitor what Etin's doing, and he's kind of looking what's going on, but he's a bit confused. Honestly, Avelyn, you are so in awe to be back home and be in somewhere that you relate to. You just want to take a few moments to yourself and just
Shit.
appreciate this. Taran, my God, you walked up to this dwarf. He has got a fucking massive like shit across his neck. You know what's happened, but you know that shit ain't like.
He's got a
Like,
massive.
he's not just been punched in the pub for no reason. Like something's
Shit.
happened. He's shifty as fuck. He's in a temple. Like something's going on. You don't know what. So I suspect you ask him where.
But
he
like,
got this from, but
does
it's
he
completely up
look
to you.
like? Does
He
he
looks
look like he
extremely
deserved it?
nervous. He is shifty. He's looking around, checking to people if watch him. You get the sense that he feels comfortable in this place, but is still ultimately extremely nervous.
I want to, in a swift move of like, just a look of, I'm very understanding, a look of empathy. I just look from the scar directly into his eyes and say, "Who did that to you?"
He's going to sort of shuffle his feet, and you know what? In a strange, like little way, he's going to. The broom's like basically his height. Like you get the sense of, you know, I'm a dwarf, I'm strong, I can do whatever I want. Like I can sweep the floors, I can move boulders. It doesn't matter. But I've got this broom, and he feels awkward, and he starts sweeping his shoe on his right shoe, and then he realizes he's sweeping his shoe, so he starts sweeping some pebbles slightly to his left because he realizes he's looking a bit weird, and then he very much realizes he's looking really weird, and he's like, okay, so like. Something did happen. And as you lean in, he explains to you, he says, just about a week ago, maybe more, maybe 10 days. So there was this strange man, and he came in, and he was dressed as the King's Guard. You know what they look like, right? You've seen their uniform, and he sort of looks to you, and you nod, says it, and he's not too sure if you know, but he's kind of on a roll now, and you get the feeling that he's not really spoken to anyone, and anyone he can outlet to, he's sort of started. He ain't gonna stop. He's like, well, this guard came in, and he honestly he came in, and he he was drunk, and he'd been on the ale, and he asked me to write some instructions down to decipher. And honestly, I had no clue, mate. Like, I was here, and I cleaned the temple. Sometimes, since my wife passed, I come here. I try to help out as much as I can. The kids have left, Like, I help out with the blacksmith around the corner, but I have free time. I come in. But he came bouldering in, and he just wanted. And I said to him, mate, like, you can't just get a blessing from no one. Like, you got. And he just. And then at that point, you can see he almost like shrinks in himself. Like, you feel like he's ashamed, and he says to you, he attacked me. I tried to defend myself, obviously, like, I ain't gonna take nothing, but he flew into a rage, and he pinned me on the floor, and he screamed in their face, tell me, and I just didn't know what to do. I thought he wanted information. I didn't know nothing. I just come here and help out, like I said, since I moved on. And honestly, I was so. And he pulled out a knife, and he holds it to my throat, and he just. And as he like tries to demonstrate holding the knife, his arm starts shaking, and his hands start shaking. You can see him visibly getting angry. Like, his cheeks start flushing, and he starts getting upset and angry. And he says, he just wouldn't let go. He wouldn't let go, and he starts repeating, he wouldn't let go. And then two people who are obviously nearby come back, and they sort of put his arm on his shoulders. It's okay, it's okay. Like, don't worry. And they sort of they talk to him, they calm him down, and you wait. And then they leave, and one of them leaves before the other, and they leave him, and he sort of looks at you and says, we called the guard, but they didn't come, and he ran. They pulled him off me, but not after. And he sort of, not intentionally, but you see, like, instinctively touches his neck, and you can see that obviously he was hurt by what happened. And he says they pulled him away, but he ran through this. He ran, and the guards, and you can see instantly his face completely changes, and he gets bitter and angry. And they claim they know nothing. But who can believe them? Who can believe them? And he starts muttering to himself, like, very much in disdain and anger, and a very much little bit of hurt. And he starts mumbling to himself, and you can't really decipher what he's saying anymore.
All right.
Just in a sort of response to that story, I'm less like twiddly and everything, and I'm more like clenching my fists, just angry at whoever the fuck this man is. And I just look at him and say, what was he trying to get you to decipher? Do you have it on you?
And at this point, he turns around to you, and Kovu and Etin, you collectively notice that something is happening, and there's this dwarf who's getting a bit more agitated. There's been a bit of a collective going on behind the statue, and Kovu, you this is fully much intrigued your interest. You want to know what's going on. Avlin, you don't know what's going on, but you instinctively hear raised voices, and you think, oh, what's happening? And it takes you a good 30 seconds to a minute to figure out, who are those voices? Do I know them? Do I need to worry or not? And you very much come to the conclusion of, I know these voices. I know something's wrong. And you will sort of slowly flood over to what's going on while Taran is speaking to this dwarf. And the dwarf starts rambling. He's, I can't stop thinking about it. He attacked me, and there was no reason for it, and it's just all he wanted. And I can't deal with someone coming over, and he goes, you just need to calm down. We will deal with it. We'll find out. No, but he came back, and he'll never come back. He'll never leave me. What if I did? Then you didn't do something. Don't worry about it.
Can I approach him?
Yep. By this point, you're like, they're going through this muttering as you, Avlin, and Evelyn. Sorry. Avalyn. I can't get it right. And
it's literally just Avalyn. That's the only one you can't get right. So I approach this dwarvish fellow, and I say to him, in dwarvish, I appreciate that you have clearly gone through some sort of anguish. However, if you are to describe it to us in detail, we may well be able to assuage your fears and perhaps overcome whatever presence is presenting itself to you in an aggressive nature.
Could you roll persuasion?
Sure, I can do whatever you want, DM.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's the only thing I'm
sucky at. Yeah.
It's the only thing I'm proficient in. I'm doing my best here. I've drank quite many drinks.
Me too. don't worry.
13.
Like it.
And he's going to sort of look back and forth between you and Taran. He hasn't built a rapport with Taran, but because of the situation that presented himself, he's kind of ended up releasing himself to Taran. And whether he trusts this guy or not, it's very much like, well, I've already told my life story to one guy. Do I want to be that open with someone else? He's not quite sure,
Yeah.
but ultimately
I'm
he knows
not.
you've
I'm not
heard.
looking so much to learn the life story as I am simply attempting to persuade him that we can be the resolution he's looking for.
And he's sort of going to look at you both, look back and forth. Taran, are you doing anything specific, or are you just sort of absorbing what he's taking?
Help me
he's
out here,
saying?
Taran.
I put like one hand on his shoulder in like a comforting thing with just a look of like anger at the situation, but like
like
know,
empathy for him.
to
Yeah.
him.
Me and Taran have a.
So
We
he's
have
going to
an
look
agreement.
at you, Taran, like, I appreciate I've just offloaded to you as a complete stranger.
Yeah, we're docking right now, me and
But
Taran.
You have a bond.
it's you right now, and you're the first person I've spoken to, and he's looked at Cobra and he's thinking, right, you're a little bit odd, you're a bit brazen, but ultimately you seem like a bit similar to this guy. He goes, look, just, I don't want no trouble, all right?
I can roll with
But-
advantage if it makes you feel better. I'm just
No,
saying.
I don't want you to roll nothing. He's like, oh,
Yeah, bitch.
oh,
Don't roll nothing.
are you here for a reason? Just please forget about what happened with me.
My intention.
At this point, you've all arrived and heard what he's asked.
Yeah.
If you're all looking for someone specifically.
My intention is not to draw attention to what has surpassed with you, my friend. Simply, my intention here is to assuage your fears and simply provide my friends, my colleagues, with a solution that might assist you.
Comrades.
At this point, you can see him physically getting quite anxious and uncomfortable and shifty, and he just wants to leave. Is there anyone specifically you wanted to speak to? I have other things that I need to attend to. If you need someone, I can go get them for you. And he's looking at Etin, and he's quite big and large, and he's feeling a bit nervous. He's looking at Taran in a
Pay
kind
no
of a
mind to
reassuring
my
way.
friend
But
here. Whilst he is somewhat looming, he is not a gracious tall. He may burst out in.
And as he looks at Taran, he just
standard response.
You can tell he has this mental capacity of being brave,
dear.
but at the moment he's just completely not within himself, and he's so shrunk. And he looks at you all four and sees these four people standing around him. Two obviously quite intelligent. This one respectful
Does
lady.
he have
this
any
one
chairs at his table?
absolute giant, and he just looks at you and goes, "I'll fetch the lady," and runs. Almost a full-on sprint, but not quite, because that would almost
As
be rude
he
to the temple.
runs, I'm just like, whatever we can do. And he turns and runs, and I'm just like, well, very well. And I like sort of retract back into my otherwise posh nature, and I look at Taran like, I'm terribly sorry if I've made this difficult for you. It seems that perhaps you were in some sort of agreement with this fellow, but my intention was to perhaps cinch a deal as something that you otherwise had not achieved. Have I perhaps made this more difficult than was intended?
I feel like he had the comfort of only really opening up to one person. I think a group of people might have just scared him a bit too much.
And as you were all talking, you two are talking, and the other two of you are observing. Avalyn a bit apprehensive because you can tell there's been some high friction emotion. Atin, you're just completely bewildered by the whole situation. Also, these ceilings are really tall. Like, you've never seen an inside building with ceilings that's just this tall. Like, they're like 4 people high, and you can't quite understand how the architecture is working right now, but you're very awed by it. And as you're all talking, you see this older woman come out with long brown hair. She's quite pretty. She walks over and goes, "Hello, I do understand the 4 of you may have been looking for someone to speak to, specifically."
I'm
My
terribly
name
sorry.
is my name is Thea, and I wouldn't call myself a leader or anything, but I I do take leadership in some circumstances for this temple. Is there anything I can help you with?
Certainly, we don't seek any sort of leader. We're not trying to approach the upper monarchy of such an establishment. We are simply a humbled collective, and we simply wish to garner information if that is available to you. I will refer to our leader if this suits you, and I motion towards Evelyn.
Is there any specific thing you've been sent here for? As I'm sure you can appreciate, and she's going to slightly gesture to the people around. We do have a lot of citizens come here for aid and blessings, and
I'm just motioning towards Evelyn as though she should take the forefront of this conversation.
Yes. I just want to tell her. I'm not going to show her the note because it's covered in blood, and that's kind of weird. So I'm just going to kind of say, we think the White Lady might be able to guide us, because what we're seeking isn't a physical object. And
she's gonna pull you up right there, and she's gonna look at you and say, "Sorry, could you just repeat that? Repeat that exactly what you just said?"
We're looking for the White Lady's guidance. As what we're seeking, it isn't a physical object. I know this doesn't really make much sense.
Certainly, I'd imagine.
She's gonna look at you and take a deep breath in and go, Could you wait here for a moment, please? And she's going to.
I'd imagine that most people
not run
that
off,
seek
but
your
walk
attention
at a
are
very
looking
fast
for
pace.
more guidance than a physical response.
Evelyn.
Could you
No.
while I'm all doing this, could you all roll perception, please?
the entire time Etienne speaks, I'm just like, no, it's don't worry, it's okay, carry on. Yes, carry on. Thank you.
What do you want to say? What do you want? You want us to roll what? Sorry.
Perception.
Perception. Can everyone roll perception?
What? Oh god. Shit.
Oh. Don't make me laugh, my back hurts. Like literally the entire time. Etienne says something.
Any of you rolling perception?
I've already rolled it. I rolled a 20.
I have already.
18.
Okay, Tovu's rolled a 20. Etienne's rolled an 18.
My 6 is the top of it.
I rolled a
Okay,
50.
thank.
I know your guys didn't know shit, so it might be that you rolled, but it's not come through to me yet. So.
6 for me.
Just anytime Etienne goes to say
Guys, can you
anything,
stop?
I'm like, no.
Why? We're laughing. Can you just like
I
laugh?
know, but it's gone to 11 and
I
I'm
know,
trying
I'm
to get
sorry.
it.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I know you guys can laugh as much as you want, but it will take 8 sessions rather than like 3, so like it's up to you.
Mute yourselves.
Yeah.
My head
Speak
says
yourselves if you're talking about bullshit.
Okay, wait.
Right.
Where's
I'll
this?
put my fist down, do you not hear me? God.
I'm doing my best.
Okay, Max, mute yourself. I hope you're all listening. Right. Taryn, you are so confused about what the fuck just happened. They all flooded in. The guy ran off in a panic. You're like, dude, I was making progress. And you feel a bit like, God, maybe I haven't got enough presents because I'm not old enough. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe these idiots fucked it up. You're so confused. You're trying to think about what's happened, but you're letting it go. Evelyn, you've walked over. Something's clearly going on. There's an atmosphere here, but you're not quite cottoned on. They're obviously talking about something, and someone's coming over. But honestly, you don't really know. These guys are taking their headsets off, so they don't know what's fucking happening.
Okay.
Fucking sorry.
Ah.
Kovu raised a 20 and Etin rolls an 18. Right. So that essentially means that what happens is when she comes out and she approaches you guys and says, "Are you looking into something?" She can tell that you're here for more than just an offering. Like you're here for a purpose. And after what you've said, Evelyn, something springs in her, and she looks at you and she goes. She says to you, "Say that again," and you repeated yourself and you explained sort of paraphrased what you'd read in that note that you'd received. And she does very well, and she looks at you all in depth, and she seems to take a strange moment looking at you all, a good 2-3 seconds each. Like feels a bit unnerving. Like you feel like when you're back at school and you get pulled into a teacher, and a teacher's trying to understand what your motivations are, whether you're just cheating or whether you're just a bit tired. And she looks at you all individually, and then waits, and then goes, "Follow me." And she turns around and she walks at a fast pace. She's not running, but she's definitely not walking at street pace.
I don't have
And,
time to suggestion her, is what you're saying.
No, you do not have time to suggestion her. And she walks off into a back corridor and has motioned and expressed to you to follow. And she walks off into a strange corridor. As you will walk past, 1, 2, so 20.
Shit.
As you walk past, so like there's this Temple of Varela, and then behind it there's a bit of going on. And as you go to the right, you can go to further corridors. Kovu, as you walk past the specific statue, you're kind of in awe about the architecture. You've seen it all before, you've read about it in books, but you're kind of trying to admire what's happening. And given your history, you look back to the specific statue of Varela, and just behind her you see this strange figure of a slight small female with long brown hair. Who seems to almost be peeking past the statue, looking at the four of you in an inquisitive way. You're not too sure what's happening. You get no sense of magic or arcana, but you do
Can I roll
notice
history?
someone. You can roll history.
Because my history's very high.
That's lovely.
Shut up, Max.
Roll it all you like.
19.
You know nothing of this.
19.
I mean, if you were both shut up for a minute, it would be great.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like that's true. So you look at this strange, and as you look at her, you appreciate that she's probably about the mid-teens, so she's probably about 14, 15. You
So
don't
wait.
recognise her before. No, you can shut up.
No, seriously.
No.
Because I'm trying to write the notes.
Mute him.
Max, you shut the hell up.
As you four are filtering into a back room through a corridor, you look back to look at
this
the
is
temple.
within the Temple of Varela.
Yeah.
Temple, you notice a girl peeping out from behind the statue of Varela, looking at you guys inquisitively. She seems to be a teenager, and she seems to have long brown hair.
Whom? Whomst?
Better.
Seems to have what kind of hair?
Long brown hair.
Brown.
Long brown hair.
Long brown.
Sexy brown hair.
Shut up, fucker, Max.
What do you mean?
Whip you, boy!
Just a bit creepy there.
Who is that? Who is it?
Seems to have a mother that I would bang in the latest campaign. Okay.
Is it? Is
We've
it
got
her?
about 5 minutes left. Just let me get to it, okay?
Okay, carry on.
Yeah,
So you all follow her into the room, and you follow her down this corridor, and she's shuffling along. You feel like it's
Sorry.
almost like you're following in the barracks, but there's definitely a different vibe.
I know that you
But
don't
there's
want us to
almost-
interrupt, but who are we following here in this situation?
You're following what seems to be an elder woman, mid to late 30s.
And she's leading us to rooms.
She's leading. She's come out. She's approached you. Said that you've approached this gentleman. Evelyn has explained to you your message and what you understand. She seems to have been shocked and slightly confused, but understanding of what she said, and then has asked you directly to follow her.
So she is 100%, without doubt.
She came out to
providing
find
us-
out what was going on, and then Evelyn explained, "We've been sent here because of XYZ. This has been said," and sort of recited things that have been said in the notes and been said by Mercer. And then something in her expression and her mannerisms changed, and she asked you to follow her.
So this woman, regardless of name, Lumi, is...
Her name is Thea.
Oh, okay, cool. Is
That was confirmed.
is taking us to rooms that we can stay in.
No, she has asked you to follow her.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we're-
Carry on.
So you are following her. On your way out of the main temple area before you hit the corridor, Kovu, that's when you turn around and you see a teenager look at you from behind the statue of Rella.
Yep, I saw Livia.
You continue. You follow her. You approach a door. She looks at you and says, "Please enter this room." What do you guys do? And she opens and you can see an open room which seems to not be bright, but there's
How many
seems to be
beds
sort of a
are
flickering
in this
there.
room?
There are no beds. You cannot see anything in this room. All you can see is there is light in this room, and it is doing this kind of motion, so you feel like it's candlelit. She seems genuine. She doesn't feel like she's trying. You don't get
Okay.
none of you get the impression she's trying to trick you.
Is anybody else looking to approach her first? I'm looking at you, Evelyn, and potentially
Yeah,
Taryn.
I would happily go first and like kind of push the door open to walk in.
I don't want to get in the way of Evelyn or Taryn. Specifically Evelyn, I don't want to get in the way of.
I follow straight after Avalon because, like, whatever progress I was making there, we're making some more progress here, and I'm concerned about this. If it's all related, then I want to get to the bottom of
I'd
it.
like to learn as much as possible, but it seems to be predominantly, like, intertwined with the gods, and I have made my peace with the gods, i.e. I am only interested in Lianos and Gaia. So, given that we're in a temple of Arella, I am less interested.
Okay.
I also couldn't give a fuck about.
I mean,
like,
you're a
religion.
Goliath, you don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a.
Etin is just
Eton, I just carry on.
yeah.
That's it.
Go on, Sevvi.
I just
So, Evelyn and Taryn head on forward.
Thea is standing at the door with an open doorway into a room which is flickering with candlelight, with a hand through the door, requesting for you to enter. What do you all do?
I certainly follow Evelyn, but I follow Evelyn in the nature of she is our
Thea
leader.
does not go into this
I
room.
follow
She is
her.
directing you into the room that is open. Do you all go into the open room?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a question.
Yes, ask the question.
Does Evelyn go into the open room?
Yes.
I
First.
follow her.
Cool.
Etin? Etin?
Huh?
Do you follow me?
I just follow the group.
Cool.
Sweet. We're all
Taryn, do
going
you
in.
follow the other three, or are you leading the other three into the room?
I was already following Avalon. I'm straight up close because I want to get more.
Perfect. Okay. With all the people talking, sorry, I apologise if I misconstrue. I'm just
That's
checking
fair.
that everyone's getting what they're getting before I assume.
Mhm.
So could
Certainly.
Taryn and Kovu please roll Arcana checks as you walk into the room? And as you all four walk into the room,
Oh shit, that's not my fucking stats at all.
13.
13, like a noob.
Watch him roll in that one.
Bam! 122, motherfucker!
so while Kovu realigns himself, both of you look at each other, and at this intense moment of looking at each other as you pass through the door, you both get this big. You walk through this doorway, and it's almost like as if you both get pulled with a force of energy, and you feel almost constricted. But if you were to go speak, nothing feels strange. But you both look at each other in a quizzingly way of something is not quite as it seems in this room.
It's more a case of I look at Taryn like shit's
Well, no,
not
you both
okay.
rolled the same amount. You both got the same kind of vibe as you walk through this room. You looked at each
I
other.
know,
and
but
did
me
this-
and Taryn's dynamic is that he kind of looks for me to tutelage, and despite the fact that I am not qualified at all to provide him tutelage, I still look at him like
You're arrogant. Yeah, that's
tutelage provided.
fine. So you walk in, and as you walk in, as the last person steps through the door, who I believe is SM, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that makes sense.
Probably yeah, and he's a moron.
The door slams shut. Not in an aggressive way, but just in a like, okay, the door's shut. And you see an older gentleman in front of you. And he looks at you. The room it smells of this heavy sense of like woody sense, like oak. It's almost like someone's been burning wood in this room. It smells like a fireplace. You can't see a fireplace, but that's kind of the aroma you're getting. It's kind of dull. If you hadn't have just been outside and known it was lunchtime, you'd have thought it was late evening, mid evening. But it has that sense to it, and there's this heady feeling of either magic or incense that you can't quite pin on what's right. So as you look at this gentleman, he's standing at the back of the room, and he looks at you and says, "You are here because you've been sent the message, yes?"
I look at Taran and immediately respond. I believe this fellow perhaps possesses magics the likes of which that we are perhaps not in mastery of. And I turn back to this fellow.
I'm under the impression you seek for what cannot be found. And he's going to look at you all.
We seek...
I sort of like gulp because of this weird energy that's around and everything, and I just nod at him.
I immediately disregard Taran and look at the
Kovu and
fellow.
Taran, could you please roll Arcana again for me?
Because I'm sort of looking in like anticipation of something.
Oh shit,
I want
I've turned
to,
my DPI to 1600.
I want to
13
say
again.
to this person, yes, we come to seek the guidance of Arella.
You didn't get a chance. You're not rolling
Evelyn,
Arcana.
based off that, could you please roll insight for me?
Oh, sure.
Here's my Arcana roll. 25.
Mouse disconnects. Come on.
So
I have
just
expertise
Evelyn,
in
your insight.
Arcana.
Yeah, that's fine.
How the fuck do you have a plus 11?
Because I have expertise in Arcana.
Oh, as in like the
Double
You've got the proficiency and then what else?
Double
So,
proficiency.
Taran, first of all, you feel like something in here is not as what it seems. Something is magical in here for starters, and the questions are not quite as they seem, but you haven't quite tweaked on what yet. But you are very aware that whatever people are saying, there may be just a little bit of something. Evelyn, you get the same impression, but at the same time, you feel like you can trust this guy, but he has this sense of overwhelming power that you just don't know where it comes from. So you don't know if it's because he's been here a long time, if he's built himself up here, or if it's pure magic or strength. You don't know what, but there's a sense of power from this guy. Kovu, from this outright standing in here and hearing what he says, you get the intense feeling there is some kind of magic in this room that is preventing from any of you from speaking the truth, from speaking lies. You can only speak the truth in this room. And you get an intense feeling in your chest that there will be consequences for not being honest in this room.
So, I look at this fellow, and given my role above the remaining others, I present my natural ability to magic towards him, and I say to him, "We've been sent here for the task of our party, and my understanding is that you might assist us in this endeavor. Whilst I appreciate that we have been brought to your attention through dire nature, the likes of which are beyond my natural composure, perhaps you might assist us with what we have before us, and if not, we might consider you an enemy, as which I would suggest to you that you find yourself outnumbered."
Can you roll intimidation for me?
Can I roll persuasion instead?
No.
Honestly, it's quite difficult for me to find these keys on my keyboard right now.
Just roll a d20 and then add.
I know, but finding the R key is
I
quite
know.
complex, and that's not a 1, and that's a 2, and that's a 1. There we go. 8. Can I suggestion him?
No.
Why not? I've got second level spell slots.
Can you just roll with the punches for now?
Yes.
Good idea.
I don't suggestion him, but I suggest to him nonetheless.
He's going to interrupt you and say very well.
Rude.
You are clearly apt at what you do.
He's a
You
wise
all,
fellow.
and he's going to look at you slowly, one to one, seem to have been sent here on dire terms. I will
Exact.
help you on a number of conditions.
I'm murmuring these
Could
things
you
as
stop
he speaks.
talking?
No, but as he speaks, I am
Okay.
murmuring this in a Terran fashion. So he's like, "You're all adept," and I'm like,
All right.
"Quite astute."
I have crossed paths with Viorum, and he's going to look at you all
As
quizzically.
of wheel.
In my time, I understand they are a group of people founded by good intentions and valuable skills.
Quite astute.
However, part of my duty in my role is to ensure that whoever I pass my information onto is proven to be worthy
A wise endeavor.
and not of ill intent. Some simple
Most
questions.
studious.
I suggest you shut up.
I disregard that entirely.
I mean, it's a 19 to be intimidated, so you take that as you will.
Okay.
You know,
Some simple questions,
but you know
and you will
what?
have my aid.
To go Rudy, you know what?
First!
Your race talks too much. I'm just gonna say
As
it.
soon as that
You
pipes
talk
up,
I agree
way
with the
too
Goliath.
much.
I suggest if you want my help, you shut up.
This includes you.
First,
I look at him and I'm like, he's quite intimidating.
you must.
Perfectly
I will not
friendly.
repeat myself. You must solve a simple riddle, and each of you must give me your answer as trade.
Butterfly.
Are you prepared? And he's going to look at you all, waiting for a response.
Yes, we are prepared.
I sip a bit more from my canteen, and then I look at Edin.
He gave his answer already.
I sip a bit more from my canteen and then look back at Edin and just say, I hope that was right. I screw the top back on and put it back within my garments. And I look over at Evelyn. Evelyn, what is your response?
I just sigh. I just sigh.
I quiet the fuck down at the fact that Evelyn has just sighed. Literally, like it goes from me being like, oop, and then I look at Evelyn and I'm like, oh. Just go quiet.
At this point, he's going to look at you all slowly and go, my name is Zuko.
Mm.
I'm in
Great.
charge of this temple, and if you require my aid, you will listen.
I'm not saying a word.
Yeah, don't say nothing.
I already didn't.
As I have said, you must solve a simple riddle, and each of you may give me the answer as trade.
Excuse me.
If you have me, you want to share me. If you share me, you haven't got me. What am I? Your answer is trade to move on to the second task. Provided you pass the second task, I will help you. At
I.
that point, the session will end.
Hey!
No.
Woo! Sevvi DM! Yeah!
Good.
Sevvi, you know what? That was fucking brilliant. Very, very well done. Honestly.
It's not really awkward, but like I hope you guys had fun.
You
with
did
it.
amazingly!
Fucking really, really good. I mean, no, this is not the alcohol. Genuinely, from start to finish, it's been fantastic. Like DM.
I don't care, like
Brilliant.
DM wise or D&D wise.
No,
how good it
no,
was.
brilliant.
You guys had a good evening.
No, really, really.
I had a
good.
great time.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, man.
honestly, Sevvi DM is best DM. That was amazing. I loved it. I
Yeah.
fucking love playing. I
Yeah,
hope that I
man.
wasn't, like, right up in anyone's shit. I feel like I maybe stepped on Ulrich's bounds a little bit, but I tried to let him speak as much as he wanted to as well.
It's fine. Before we say all that, can you guys please write down what I've told you? Because you have a week to solve it, and that's all you get.
I've written the fucking notes. Hang on.
Wait. Say the riddle again.
Oh, I
So
can't.
what Zuko has ended with is if you have me, you want to share me. If you share me, you haven't got me.
I feel like
What
it's still
am I?
time.
And your answer is what you trade to move on to the second
Yeah,
part.
Was it
feel
if
like-
you have me? Say again. If you
I
have
put
me.
it in. I put it in the Roll20 chat, and I'll put it in the DM chat. You guys have 1 week.
If you
Yeah,
have
I'll start
me,
me, guys. I'm
you
just
want
going
to
with-
share me.
I'll go with time
And
right
like
now.
in real time, that's like 15 minutes. But because you guys talk so little, like you've got a week to sort it out.
Talk so
Like,
little, I talk non-stop.
Yeah, but you don't count. You're DM.
Yeah, and I also calmed down because I was apparently I caused more.
Alright,
Yeah, so
Sevvi,
I'm gonna.
give me the riddle right now. I'm gonna put it in the fucking notes. So
I
if
put it
No,
in
it's already there.
If
Bela'Dun,
you
and I put it
have-
It's
in
already
Roll20.
there, you.
I know, but I have to put it in my notes, so it's in the recap. If you have me,
If you have me, you want to share me.
hang on, I can't type whilst I'm drunk. You want to
If you share me,
share
haven't-
me?
you haven't got me.
No, Max, shut up. If you have me, you
Oh,
want to share me,
That's
Sevvi.
exactly what it is.
Well, we'll see, Sevvi. If you have
If
me,
you
you
have
want to
me,
share
you want
me.
to share me. If you share me, you haven't got me. What am I? And your
Motherfucker.
answer is trade to move on.
Wait, hang on. If you have me, you want to share me. If you share me, you haven't got me. What am I?
Yep. And the answer is your trade.
Are you
And
giving
I
us the
ain't fucking
answer?
with you. If you
Why
guys
you-
don't
why
figure
you-
it out by next week, you ain't getting shit.
Didn't you just give us the answer? You said you're
I
straight.
am not giving you the
The
answer.
answer is still time. I'm just telling you right now, as an intelligence 20 character, that the answer is time.
Oh, God, mine
I don't,
is
I
dirt.
don't even know what
Mine is
Taryn is
dirt.
saying. Taryn, I glare in anticipation. My head, the chaos is too much. I know the answer. Oops. The answer's fucking time.
It's not
Avalyn.
time.
Well, if it's not time, you better fucking speak up, bitch. Cause. Alright, hang on.
Oh
let me...
my God! I
let me
didn't
kill the
even. I
stream.
didn't.
Okay,
properly.
for all the
uh,
Adams of the world out there, I thank you for gracing us with your presence, and for all the Amy's that will watch this in a day or two, and of that I mean the single Amy that will watch this in a day or two. Thank you for watching the stream. We love you all. Feel free to invite your friends.
Love you guys.
Goodbye,
Bye.
stream.
Bye.
Boy.
Goodbye, stream.